Wow, I am in the Matrix. People can't really think this was a good film.
But if he's in the Matrix, how would he know he's in the Matrix? Isn't that the point of the Matrix?
He must have taken the red pill.
We saw Mission Impossible and Indiana Jones back to back.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
Both have fights on train top. Both a car chase with a small, unlikely car going downstairs. The only difference were the actors.
Oh, boy. I don't know how I feel about this assessment.
That's not. I don't like this comparison.
Are AI writing the scripts now?
Are?
That was a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Andrew.
Greetings.
And Steven.
Heidi Hody there.
And in this the Heidi Ho guy. And in this episode, we're reviewing the newest entry in the Mission Impossible franchise with Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Appendix 3 Glossary XB.
.exe.
/ GeoCities. Angelfire. Yeah.
/ Homestead.
But before we get into our thoughts on that movie, you know, AI is all the hotness right now. We got, you know, Hollywood actors and writers are striking, partially because of AI and other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's obviously a lot of other things, but AI is definitely on the docket for actors and their likeness being
like the whole
used.
like perpetual license to use their image forever. Where it's like, oh, you're just gonna have some creepy robot 50 years from now of me. Like, no, Samuel L. Jackson, still Nick Fury.
Oh gosh. And this movie obviously deals with AI, so I thought we could talk about some of our favorite AI stories.
Favorite's a strong word.
Or some good stories or fun stories.
Good's a strong word. There we go. Entertaining
AI
stories about
is
AI.
an interesting concept.
It is. So who wants to lead it up?
I'll start it out because I don't want this one to get stolen. Because this is a classic.
But we don't know what it is. So how can it be stolen?
I think I know what it is. I was going
of
to
AI. I know because I know that you like this movie.
Yes.
So 1968, Stanley Kubrick.
Yep.
Okay.
2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
By Arthur C. Clarke. Well, originally written by him as a short story.
Open the bay door, Hal.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
I can't do that, Dave.
So when Dr. Bowman, or Dr. Dave Bowman, excuse me, and
Dr. Dave.
Name right.
That sounds like a guy that writes a cannabis prescription for no questions asked. Go see Dr. Dave.
Bro, you need to get out of work today?
Not terribly.
You look stressed. I got you, bud.
When Dr. Dave Bowman and other astronauts are sent on a mysterious mission, their ship's computer system, HAL, begins displaying increasingly strange behavior, leading up to a tense showdown between man and machine that results in a mind-bending trek through space and time.
Space and time.
And this is definitely this is Arthur C. Clarke's probably most famous short story that he's done. He's one of my favorite hard sci-fi novelists.
Prolific sci-fi writer.
And he does a lot of really good short stories. My favorite is Rendezvous with Rama from him, but this is also a fantastic short story. And there's a couple other ones that happen after it that you can go read, but this is definitely the best one by a wide margin.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like about this was the HAL is such a quintessential kind of like AI going against its creators, kind of thing, and it's so common in like pop culture at this point. It's just a meme, but I love just the moments at the end where he's like the whole system is controlled by HAL, and there's nothing that Dave can actually do, beyond just like essentially like try and just destroy the ship.
Yeah. Well, and the scene when he's like unplugging the memory bays and like Hal's voice starts like, oh man, I always think of that movie not only because of the the story with Hal and with everything else that's going on in it, but just the visuals. Like it is one of my favorite Kubrick films in terms of like just pure like. Again, practical effects because like this was 1968. They didn't have like
like the big rotating.
I was about to bring it up where she's walking with basically Velcro shoes.
Oh yeah,
to like walk up around, which I thought was such a cool practical effect way to do
concept,
it.
Yeah.
And there's something with the pen in that scene that I remember was very specific of like how they did it. Yeah. But I mean, like 1968, this is such a phenomenal film that Kubrick did.
Yeah.
And like I'm not gonna lie, this is the only Kubrick film I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never seen.
Clockwork Orange?
No, I've seen Clockwork Orange.
Shining?
Yeah. I haven't seen The Shining.
Okay.
But I don't like
One
horror
Flew
films.
Over the
So.
Cuckoo's Nest.
And then I never seen Doctor Strangelove.
That's a good.
Oh, you're
That's a
missing
real
out.
good one. I think you'd like a lot of his stuff.
No, I mean, like, he's a great director.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I've just never really found my spot. Because every time I'm going to watch a Kubrick film, it's going to be Space Odyssey.
But see, you've seen a lot of his work though, because you've watched footage of the moon landings.
Oh, here we go. Here goes Steven again.
I got to get that in there where I can. Come on now.
Oh man, I don't even want to. I don't even. No, I'm not even going to acknowledge.
No,
it.
don't even. Please don't.
Don't even give it. Don't give it air to breathe.
Smother it. Smother it like you love it with a pillow.
Do you want me to go next?
Oh,
Steven, or do you
no.
wanna jump in?
Since he did Arthur C. Clarke,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay in the same vein,
Okay.
but with a twist.
With a twist.
With a twist.
See Arthur Clarke, a different writer.
So we're going with an adaptation, and I use that word incredibly loosely,
Okay.
of Isaac Asimov's.
Ooh.
Oh, this is 2004's I, Robot.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
When I
Oh,
say
boy.
adaptation, I use it in the loosest term possible.
Yeah.
So I remember whenever this movie came out, I actually liked it.
See, that's why I
unfortunate.
brought it up, because I felt like I was entertained and enjoyed the film.
I think it's a fine
and
film.
I get, like,
I've never seen it because it looked so bad.
See, this is what I was going to ask y'all, because I haven't seen it lately, and I'm curious because it was nominated for like special awards or special effects.
Special effects,
right?
yeah.
I'm curious how well they hold up now.
Probably not super well.
Probably
I don't know
not great.
because it's in that middling.
Yeah.
The middle of 2000s, where it's
aughts.
like we
Yeah.
use CGI, but we shouldn't have kind of thing.
I think it actually fit with this one though.
Yeah.
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 So it's I haven't seen it in a long time. I remember seeing it in theaters and thinking, wow, so this is not the book, because it's just kind of not. But the core concepts were good. The usage of the three laws and kind of the path of logic that AI can take from that to arrive to a essentially totalitarian dictator state of protect humans, because humans make poor irrational choices.
We have to protect them from themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I think Will Smith has a great performance in this too.
Oh yeah, and you know what's funny is looking back, and I didn't realize this at the time, but Sonny, so the robot, it's played by Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
I totally did not connect that voice at the time.
Yeah.
So this was the first movie that I like definitely remember, and I'm sure it happened before this, but like this was the first movie that I saw a trailer for it in, waiting in front of a different movie.
Yeah.
And it gave away the entirety of the plot of the movie. So I felt no need to go see it. And then like a month or two later after it came out, some of my friends went to see it. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then the scene at the end when this happens and this happens and this happens, they're like, oh, you saw it? I go, no, that's all in the trailer.
Yeah.
So
And they were like, yeah, that's basically the movie. And I was like, that's why I didn't go see it. Was because like the trailer showed everything.
So this is a big problem. Sorry, I just have to get on my soapbox.
Get on
here.
the, get on the modern
He's
movie
so
trailer
tall up
soapbox.
there. Get down, Andrew. You're going to hurt yourself.
Modern movie trailers have no idea how to actually, or studios have no idea how to make a good trailer that sells the film but doesn't actually give away
Without
anything.
giving away either all
They
the
do,
jokes
but it's rare.
or
It's
all the
rare.
twists.
Well, I mean,
It's the
same,
exception, not the rule.
Yeah, it's the same thing here with Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. There were so many scenes in the trailers and all the behind the scenes stuff that they gave away that we've almost pretty much saw the whole film before we watched the movie.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating because it's like I want to be surprised and excited when I'm watching this, but I'm like, oh, here comes the scene. Oh, here comes the scene.
Yeah. So I had the same, not to get ahead of ourselves and talk about Dead Reckoning, but I had the same moment where I was like, feels like this movie is kind of winding down. I was like, no, this scene from the trailer hasn't happened yet.
Exactly.
I had that moment. I was like, dang it, I wish I didn't have that
And
thought.
it's so frustrating.
Yeah, no, I think to peel back the veil a little bit here on marketing, right? I think that the problem modern marketers have for movies is that like people's attention span is so freaking short.
It is.
And
They have to see the big.
you have to
need to get the big
give them
stunt in
something in that trailer to even get them out to the theater. And like, so it's like an arms race of like, we have to show more. And like the I'm sure the production side is like, hold more back. The marketing side is we got to show more.
So I'm really curious to see, not to get way ahead of ourselves, but it's been kind of all in the news lately, but Hayao Miyazaki's last film.
I was about to bring this up.
Coming out. And there's just
we're all over the place.
No trailer, because it's just like, we're not getting
no trailer, no
given
marketing,
away.
nothing.
Yeah.
One, hey, you know, if you spend however many millions in budgeting, well, if you can market on just the name of the studio and the director alone, and you don't have to pay $50 million in advertising,
right?
What a cost savings, yes, right? Like,
what if it's the ultimate troll though, and it's just like a Farg farting for like 2 hours, and he's like, "I got you. I didn't come out of retirement."
It comes out, and it's just like the sad, like little stick figures stumble around on the screen,
and it's just 2 hours of that. Or no, it's only 5 minutes long, and then it ends like, "Thanks for coming," and like, what?
You paid full price for this.
$12 for this.
Yeah. It's his last like joke. Take that.
Just the credits roll at the end. The after credit scene is just Miyazaki giving everyone a finger. Yeah. Like, I'm done.
I'm out for real. That would be great. I would almost like that more. I'm like,
basically,
get him.
This could be an absolute masterpiece. But if we got that, I'd be like, yeah, it's worth it.
What a takedown.
Like, people will be talking about this for decades.
Yeah.
Okay,
all
so
right, transitioning back to AI.
Back to AI.
Take the off ramp back onto AI Street.
And iRobot. So it was entertaining. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
I actually kind of thinking about it. I kind of want to watch it just to see it again.
Yeah.
And be like, because like,
So-
I don't need a twist or something like that in there.
Yeah.
I just want to see. I mean, one, it's not what I would call peak Will Smith, but it's not far from peak Will Smith.
So this came out before I Am Legend, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
And like I think this was the film that really was like, ooh, he has some really good spark here from like coming over from the 90s into this, and like, ooh, he still got it. And then I Am Legend having, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, I Am Legend.
I feel like I Am
2007.
Legend's issues were more with the writing than his performance.
But
his
you could also
performance is
say the
still
same
good.
thing about iRobot, because again, the plot, like there are a lot of complaints about the plot. The trailer gave everything away. It wasn't.
I do need to watch it again because this came on all the time on like TNT.
Oh, it used to be on TV all the time. Yeah.
And you're just like, well, I guess I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I'm pretty sure over the years I've absorbed the
Most
majority of
of
the
it,
film
yeah.
through osmosis of just being in the room when TNT, when it's on or whatever. But yeah, I've just never sat down and watched the entire thing.
Yeah.
Although I will say, as someone who is allergic to practically everything, I have used his line more than once where he sneezes. Sorry, I'm allergic to BS. I've used that line more than once.
Yeah.
Including with just total strangers, because just why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, if
for
not,
it.
then when?
Yeah. And what I wasn't even like,
If not who, why?
I wasn't
Yeah.
even trying to be like
If
a
not
jerk. I just
why,
happened to sneeze, and they were like, "Oh, are you okay?" All right, Ryan, get in here.
2014. Ex Machina.
Oh, I've never seen this.
I haven't seen this
Oh, you
yet.
guys have not seen Ex Machina?
No.
Wow. Fantastic performance by Oscar Isaac in this.
Ooh.
Obviously.
All right, you already sold me.
I was going
All
to
right.
say, you already got me interested.
So it stars Alicia Vikander, Domhnall Gleeson, and Oscar Isaac. It's basically, so the plot summary is a young programmer is selected to participate in a groundbreaking experiment in synthetic intelligence by evaluating the human qualities of a highly advanced humanoid AI. Right?
So I've seen clips of this in reference to like the special effects work where they're
Yes.
blending like the textured robot and human form. Or
So
whatever.
Alicia Vikander, this was like her breakout
Yeah.
English speaking role, and she plays Ava, which is like this robot.
Yeah.
That like the back of her head is like missing, and like there's like parts of her are synthetic,
That
and
are
they
exposed.
They did a really good. It's one of those science fiction movies that's very contained. Like it's like it all takes place pretty much
like in a lab room.
in
or
a
whatever,
lab.
Yeah.
So they like saved the budget there, and they really put it towards her special effects of like making it look realistic or whatever. And it's basically Oscar Isaac is Nathan. He's this dude that's basically like a really eccentric genius who's created this AI. Domhnall Gleeson plays Caleb, who's the researcher that gets the chance to come like do all this or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Alicia Vikander plays Ava. She's the AI, and like it's this weird like almost love triangle forms, not like in a love way, but more like he sees how advanced she is, and then Oscar Isaac is like half scared of her because of how good her AI is, and then half like she's just something I made, and like Oscar Isaac's going through a whole like nervous breakdown because of what he's created.
We know he's good at this.
Oh yeah, and so Oscar Isaac is incredibly scary in some scenes in this movie and incredibly like off-putting.
Nice.
But like all three of them do a fantastic job, and it's just a really good like reflection on like what is a soul, what makes something sentient,
what makes you human,
what makes you human, you know. And so like it's that dynamic of he's like, she's a machine.
Yeah.
Caleb's researching her, like, I don't know, man. I think she might be a person. She's like, I'm a person.
Well, and Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049 touch on that too quite a bit. Yeah. Which is a good honorable mention, I think, when we're talking about
for
AI
sure.
and it's stuff.
If you like that story in Blade Runner, that side of it, you would love Ex Machina. And it's also it was written and directed by Alex Garland, and it's like shot really well. And again, it's one of those like, to me, and this is my like own personal thing, I know, like a lot of my favorite science fiction movies are like Moon, like this, like ones that are really small scale.
Yeah.
You can really dig into like one concept like super deep, instead of it being like, you got to have the action scene at the end and you got to have, you know.
Well, and I think that's why I really like 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
It's because it is a very small, compact story where you only have like 4 characters.
Right.
And
when you don't really go, like you don't go very far per se, because it's just basically the spaceship and the area around the spaceship.
yeah.
Like if this was made in a modern time, they'd be like, we're going to visit this planet, go to this space station.
Yeah.
They could be all over the place. They'd be introducing 50 new characters every time.
And when you have a nice, small, compact story and set, I'd say, or like location that you're shooting, it makes it a lot. It makes you have to pull out emotions and performances from your actors, and get creative,
right? Well, and you don't have to spend so much time explaining to the audience where we are now or why we're there. All you have to do is just be like focused on this actor and be like, emote. Like, give me something.
Yeah.
And again, when you have Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson and Alicia Vikander, and it's just them just going to putting on a master class in acting, like it's easy. It's an easy sell. You know?
Ooh, man, I can have to watch this now.
I really recommend it. If you like science fiction and you like Oscar Isaac, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah. So I'm actually surprised that no one picked the 1999 masterpiece of Smart House, the Disney Channel original.
Well, I mean, it was too obvious.
What was that? What was
the
that
low-hanging
pivot?
fruit?
I don't like that pivot. I don't like that pivot
I've
at all.
never heard these words in a sentence. What are you talking about?
The synopsis is, a boy tries to stop his father from dating by programming their computerized house to be a surrogate mother.
Well, I mean, that's just every kid, though.
That sounds terrifying.
It kind of edged on like, not horror, but
I
like
can see it though.
It was very much like the house.
It's kind of like pushing into like a either like the AI.
I can't allow you to do that.
Yeah, like AI, like artificial intelligence film that I almost kind of thought about it, or like a Megan kind of thing, like a mix of those.
Yeah, very very similar to that.
Yeah.
But I just remember that like from the Disney Channel days.
Disney Channel eras. Yeah.
I thought about artificial intelligence, but I was just like, I can't, because all I can see is just
I've never actually seen that.
Oh, so it's Haley Joel Osment, and like so he just doesn't blink as the AI like the robot, and so there's like a moment or two where like the mother just opens the door and he's just standing there staring, and she like freaks, because I would also freak. Right. And of course, the child robot doesn't understand why. Like, why am I different or whatever else? But at the same time, I would also be like, blah!
Well, it's an interesting movie too, because it's Kubrick's unfinished film, and then Spielberg finished it.
Oh yeah, because he passed away.
Yeah. And so it's like, you got all the Kubrick pre-production, but all the Spielberg execution.
Yeah.
And Spielberg is not Kubrick in the stylistic at all. So a lot of Kubrick fans were very upset because Steven Spielberg did a Steven Spielberg movie, right? And it's contentious. It's not a bad movie.
It's kind of very slow, and it feels, I think it is kind of long runtime wise, but it also feels really long in general. Yeah. Because it's kind of, there are moments where you're like, so is there something going to happen, or like
right there, it does drag in like a few parts. Yeah. It's definitely a movie that like, I think if Kubrick had done it, it would have been a lot more stylized.
Yeah, it also probably would have been a little more horrifying. It
would have been more horrifying,
level of horror,
a lot more esoteric, and like the Spielberg version explains a couple things a little bit. I think the Kubrick would have just been like, what's going on? Yeah, figure it out, idiots. Yeah. Okay, well, if you would like to hear us talk a little bit more about AI, we have a Patreon bonus episode going up, which is right now.
Wild.
Yeah, and again, everyone at the $1 tier and above can get access to all of our bonus episodes. We did a bonus episode where we basically used ChatGPT to give us. Right now. Yeah, it's so high right now. To generate basically names of different genres of movies, like an action movie,
romance movie.
And then we basically write the basic plot and pick the cast for that movie, and it was off the rails.
It was ridiculous.
Turns out we can write a good Wes Anderson film.
We
Compelling Wes Anderson film.
So if you want to, definitely check that out.
I don't know. We also are really good at like kind of like the cyberpunk sci-fi.
Oh,
I think, too.
also there's a like a historical military one.
Don't give all the.
Well, I'm not giving the details.
It's called The Last Valor.
Yes, it's very good.
It's really good.
When we got to the end of that one, I was like, I want this movie to exist.
Well, I was like
who do we call? I don't know.
The longer the episode went, the angrier I got. Where it was like, we're never gonna see these ideas anywhere.
I know. These are too good. Hollywood won't do them.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they will now. But
Yeah. Hey, we'll be scabs. Come on, give us a call. All right.
Okay, well.
We wouldn't. We stand with the writers, probably.
We do,
I don't
yes.
want to talk for you guys.
I do, yeah.
Steve's like, I don't. Get back to writing.
Creatives need to get paid.
Yes, they do. Okay, let's transition now into our discussion on Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.exe/Homestead. Here is a plot summary. Ethan Hunt and the IMF team must track down a terrifying new weapon that threatens all of humanity if it falls into the wrong hands. With control of the future and the fate of the world at stake, a deadly race around the globe begins. Confronted by a mysterious, all-powerful enemy, Ethan is forced to consider that nothing can matter more than the mission, not even the lives of those he cares about most. That doesn't give away a lot. So.
No, it really doesn't.
Sometimes these plot summaries, you're like, well, that's just the whole movie.
Or sometimes they're just like, Tom Cruise is at it again. Oh, thanks, guys.
He's running. Watch out for the run. This was released July 10th, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who's done, Fallout and then Rogue Nation before that.
Yep.
Written by Christopher McQuarrie and Eric Jendresen. Hope I'm saying that right. Music again by Lorne Balfe.
Yep.
He did D&D Honor Among Thieves. He did Black Adam and Mission Impossible Fallout. Starring Tom Cruise, Haley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, Esai Morales, Pom Clementif, I hope I'm saying her name right, and many, many more.
A lot.
There's a lot of people.
There are a lot of names.
Yeah.
Carrie Ellis is in this.
Carrie Ellis was in this.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Fantastic cameo.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, why not?
I think it's the first time Tom Cruise and him have been back together since Days of Thunder.
Oh, Days of Thunder.
Yeah. I don't think Carrie
Ellis was in Legend.
Yeah, he was in Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
They
Similar,
came out
but
around
different.
the same time.
Similar, but different.
Yeah. Andre the
It's been a long
Giant.
time since I've
Andre the
seen-
Giant in Legend. He looks like the devil. Okay, the budget, $291 million.
One of the most expensive films of all time.
It is the most expensive Tom Cruise movie ever made.
definitely.
It's got to be a
And we'll
COVID.
We'll get more into it in
issue.
trivia,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of COVID
Yeah.
factors that go into not only the release date, but the inflated budget.
Not to give too much away, but I got to say there must have been something about Italy that made filming possible during this period because Fast X,
Italy, like,
I could just jump into that trivia real quick. So basically, the frequent delays caused by COVID-19 ballooned the budget to $291 million, making it the most expensive film and the most expensive of Cruise's career, or the most expensive Mission Impossible film. While filming in Italy, 12 people on the set tested positive for COVID. As a result, when filming resumed in the UK, Tom Cruise personally paid €500 for an old cruise ship for the cast to just isolate on. Then filming started in Venice on the same day.
500, 500,000?
500 euros for a cruise ship.
Or no, what's the maybe it's not euros.
It doesn't. The currency is irrelevant here. The number is what matters.
500,000 is what the trivia said.
500,000.
You said 500.
You said 500.
You did not say the 1,000.
Oh, sorry,
And
500,000.
So we all got hung up on the idea of a $500 cruise ship.
Yeah, it's like a brown barge.
Like
No,
a
it's a
rowboat.
raft.
Yeah. It's a floating piece of debris, basically. No, yeah, 500,000.
Okay,
I
that's
just
a little
ima-
more reasonable.
I can just imagine Tom Cruise on his, like, if he has a super yacht or whatever,
yeah.
and he just basically has this raft.
He's just
and
towing him behind on a couple of
he's
boards.
looking
This
down
is
at
where
them.
you stay.
He's like, you guys got to isolate over
Pack
here.
in.
He's just like leaning over the railing. Better mask up.
Yeah. So filming started in Venice on the same day that northern Italy locked down for COVID-19.
Oh wow.
So then
Okay,
production
this
was
like,
hastily moved over to Rome, only to immediately be shut down again because Rome had the same. So they were basically chasing lockdowns. It had 4 release date changes. It was originally going to be released July 23rd, 2021. It was delayed to November 19th, 2021 due to filming halted during COVID. Then on April 9th, 2021, Paramount delayed the film to May 27th, 2022 and put Top Gun Maverick in its previous November 19th, 2021 spot. Then on September 1st, 2021, due to concerns of the Delta variant, Paramount delayed the film a third time to September 30th, 2022 and put Top Gun Maverick in its previous May 27th, 2022 spot. Then on January 21st, 2022, Paramount delayed it again to July 14th, 2023.
Which is when it actually happened.
Crazy.
Yeah. So they had an adventure getting this movie out.
It basically ballooned the budget to about $100 million more than.
I imagine it put at least $80 million in the budget.
Yeah, because Fallout or Mission Impossible Fallout was like $181 million or something like that.
Effect, yeah.
And this is essentially like
$100
million more.
This being more than $200 million for like actual production.
Like maybe a little bit more expensive, but like
but still, even then, I don't. Yeah.
So I've seen a couple of like articles that were like throwing shade at how much it cost, and I don't think they're taking into account all that. I mean, they're just looking at like raw numbers.
Oh, this is how much it costs. Where did all that money go?
Yeah, they're like
that's been a factor in a lot of movies. Like, I mean, Indiana Jones just came out. It had that as a factor. I'm pretty sure Fast X had that as a factor. Like, a lot of movies that were made, not just like this one where they were making it literally as the lockdowns followed them down the country.
Yeah.
But like even ones that were made in 2021 when there were still a lot of restrictions, like just the process of movie making cost more because of these things. So we're going to move here in the next year or so. We're going to move away from things that are built
these higher ballooned budgets.
These really restrictive conditions, and it's going to bring the budgets down naturally. And then people are going to be like, "Oh, they made this movie for like $125 million.
Yeah,
and Tom Cruise couldn't get out the door for $290. What's wrong with it?" You know?
Yeah. You can't do apples to apples anymore.
It's going to warp it a little.
Well, and then we're going to have a whole other set of stuff because of the strikes.
Right.
Yep.
So all bets are off for like the next like 6 years.
Budgets are worthless for the next decade. So box office, and these are like preliminary figures because as we're recording this like Sunday, so like the weekend hasn't fully finished. But the projection is that it'll make about 80 million domestic.
That's higher than the projections I saw initially. Actually,
this is from this morning.
I'm saying like a couple days ago, people were like, it's going to crack 60, 65, 70.
Right, yeah.
So that's.
I think they've already cracked that. So
and this is the part too is like for a 200 million film, this is actually really good. Yeah. For 300 million film.
Well, now that's domestic. Total worldwide, we're sitting on 235 opening weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. 155.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a big name.
155 million international with a total of 235. It's on track to be the biggest Mission Impossible movie opening.
Okay.
Wow. So far. Yeah.
And like at the end of the day, when you look at these budgets and how much it makes, right? They've already committed to making the film. They want to continue the franchise. You have to make the film.
Right.
So they may be losing money on this film to make the next one where they make the money back to make up for it. Right? We made this for 180 million and we're going to hit 800 million worldwide and we're going to make our money back. You know?
Well, and I think the original plan was to film, basically 7 and 8, part 1 and part 2 back to back.
Yeah.
And they scrapped that.
Yeah, they just can't do it.
Yeah. So now I think they've
it'll be delayed out for a while.
Of course now, with the writers and the actors strikes. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into it. So what does everybody think? Overall thoughts? Who wants to lead us off?
I'll just go ahead and say it. I think this was not as good a film as Fallout or Ghost Protocol.
Okay.
I think it is as good or better than Rogue Nation.
Okay.
And
I'm going to let you finish.
Then better than the other ones.
Okay.
That's just like my general knee-jerk reaction after walking out of the film.
Sure.
Like, I didn't really like Rogue Nation that much.
It was all right.
Just because, like, it just didn't really vibe with me.
It was messy. It felt like, we
was
talked
the one
about
where
it.
they didn't have a script really down.
They were basically laying the tracks as they were.
There was still a lot of good comedy in Rogue Nation, especially with Jeremy Renner and Tom Cruise. There was some decent ideas and stuff in Rogue Nation. It didn't quite have that polish.
It didn't gel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, the film was pretty good. I think that they really formed the movie around the action set pieces and not the other way around. Where they were like, we want to have a car chase, we want to have a train chase, we want to or a train thing.
Adventure.
Adventure.
I don't know.
And I think they kind of melded it around there. And I think some of the story and plot gets lost somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, so I don't think this is as good as Fallout. I don't think this is as good as Ghost Protocol or like MI3.
Yeah, MI3 is another one that's like really. Like,
See, because I put it way above MI3.
See, I would. Again,
it's just
strongly, that's your
Seymour
opinion.
Hoffman is just holding that film up.
He is doing all the heavy lifting.
3
Rest in peace.
Also has like it hits you with a couple of really good. You get
emotional
a heist,
moments.
Well, you get emotional, but you also get like the heist set piece.
Yeah.
You get these really good set pieces that make sense for what the team is trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, the set pieces felt a little more scattered, if that makes sense.
Okay.
They didn't feel like it was as clear a connection of, well, we have to do A to get to B to create C to happen, right?
And then, no, D didn't work, so now we have to go to H.
Punt to F, So it didn't quite feel as structured as some of the other films in the past have felt.
Yeah.
I feel like that was
Ignoring
kind
Rogue
of
Nation.
by design, though.
A
Like
bit.
that's
A
the AI is ahead of them. It's trying to like
a little
disrupt.
bit.
A little bit.
That's how I read it. But
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this movie.
No, I liked it. I'm not saying I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I liked all those
I-
films
I
a
liked
lot.
the movie.
so-
Well, I'm not saying you didn't. I just wanted
yeah.
I had a lot of fun in this movie.
Yeah.
And I would put it definitely under Fallout and under Ghost Protocol, but it would be right there. So it's like Fallout, Ghost Protocol, this
So
for me in my
I do
rankings.
feel a little bit like maybe this is kind of the film watching it where I'm like, Cruise is actually starting to show some age here.
So
Not like Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones.
I'm just going to lose all my trivia up at the top here.
I'm taking it
So
away from
Cruise
you.
was 57 when he started filming this. He is 61 right now as of the release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 61 years old. Like, think about other 61-year-old actors. They're not doing motorcycle stunts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
jumping on. Well, no, to be fair, he did the motorcycle stunt a long time ago.
when he was
Well, it's
57.
first stunt. And that's part of it is it doesn't feel, and I don't want to say like he's not as capable of doing the stunts, but it didn't feel as tight of a. There's some sequences in here that I'm going to bring up when we get
I think
past spoiler wall.
The opening, like I'll say, the opening like 30 minutes are really clunky. And once you get past it and like the stuff, like the machinations start kind of actually like hitting each other
Developing.
and
The
shapes
developing,
start forming.
then it actually turns into like a really exciting film. But the first like, I'm not even gonna say quarter, but like the first like eighth of the film is really rough. I
Okay.
think for me.
Well, they don't
yeah.
they don't establish motivation fast enough.
Yeah, I think
we
that's
need that
that's
to
the big
really
problem.
like get in for certain things to make sense.
And we don't get the main bad guy reveal until like halfway through the film.
It's kind of like no,
and it's
but
a little
I will
late.
say,
Yeah.
the bad guy is pretty good.
Yeah. Esai
he's-
Morales?
Yeah, he has
Yeah.
got
As
he has
Gabriel?
got
Yeah.
that air of menace and kind of the whole like time is on my side. Like I can be as patient as I need to be for this to happen. It's going to happen. Like that.
Yeah.
That type of villain gets me like, oh yeah, like this guy's got to figure it out. He's got to ruin the world.
So
you
I
know?
think for me, it was, I loved all the actors and the performances. Like I thought Palm Clementif as Paris was really
She was good,
I
yeah.
loved Haley Atwell.
Haley
in this.
Atwell just totally stole the show.
Loved her character. Loved the dynamic she had with
I have
Ethan.
some words there for post spoilers, but for the most part, I think she did a great job.
So
Okay.
if you like, and this is not spoiler at all, but if you want a good comparison of a well-written, not anti-hero, but kind of like in it for themselves character compared to this in Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
she just dominates it.
It's a much
Yeah.
better example of that. Yes,
of the
absolutely.
writing specifically,
yes.
not the performances.
yeah, not the
necessarily.
performances. Yeah.
Although she also puts up a good performance.
She does, yeah.
She does. Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
hurt. It helps though when you don't have to be like, I have to say this
Yeah.
to him.
So for me, it was I loved the performances and I loved the action scenes, and then the plot is where it kind of
It's really muddy.
it's not so much that it's muddy, but like Steven was saying, it doesn't quite form as cohesively as you would want it.
It's
And I
just-
wonder if that's because it's a part one.
It
like
could have the
when
middle
you
child
see it in the
syndrome.
scope of both of them,
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, I see.
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
the shape,
the full
maybe.
arc here. And
Yeah.
for me, it's just, it doesn't feel like the sequences connect in a logical way where you go from 1 to 2 to 3. Where and who is driving the connections per se, and some of that is who's the bad guy in the background and that kind of stuff.
It feels like things are being pulled in different directions
Right.
instead of it like
Being
I
driven.
think too. Again, the difference, like to compare it directly to Fallout, is where like Fallout, it was like we are chasing this thing, so it's like we're on the tail of something
Well,
easily
and-
to like follow. We know where we're going next. Whereas this one was like, I guess we try, and then like they're getting pulled versus like them
yeah.
kind of like forming the I guess the motivation of it.
So, and I will say, and this is not a spoiler statement. I don't feel like it is. If it is, then this never happened, and you will never hear it on the cast. But there is a certain limit to the amount of sleight of hand that you can do.
Yeah.
Right? Like the magician comes out on stage and they do the trick and you go, wow. And then they do something else.
Yeah.
And if they do the same trick, like by the 5th time, you're like, yeah, man, the bunny appears. Cool.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a point where it's like, is the concept really cool? Yes. Don't do it for the 5th time. Do something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, or like build me up. Be like, oh, this is the moment they're gonna do, and then
it doesn't. Yeah.
do something different. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why I like Ghost Protocol so much is because a lot of the stuff that happens, and I'm not trying to get into any spoilers here, but a lot of the stuff that happens in Ghost Protocol is all of the stuff all the technology that they have to rely on as a team always fails.
Right.
And that's what makes interesting situations of how they adapt and how they create something out of a situation that's completely foobar.
Right.
Where I think even in Rogue Nation, Fallout, and now Dead Reckoning, there's a lot there. The technology is too successful and it's too easy for them to just rely on
See,
it.
okay, so again, we can't get into this too heavy
Yeah.
because of spoilers. I'm going to disagree with you there. I think this was closer to Ghost Protocol than not. Which I'll accept.
Yeah.
Like I like that. I like the whole like we have to improvise. We have to, do it more manually. There's some bits in here that are great for that. Overall, though, I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I never had a
good.
moment like honestly for a movie that's 2 hours and 40-something minutes long.
Yeah.
I never had a moment where I was like, okay, well, we're wrapping this up.
I think it's paced really well.
Yeah,
I was always wanting more.
it blew
until
through the first
credits
2
ran.
hours without me even really noticing.
Yeah.
Like, it was just going.
with some phenomenal set pieces, particularly the chase through Italy with the car.
There's a lot
Or
of
little
really
Fiat.
good action set pieces that are like very and like it's like out of the frying pan into the fryer, and it just keeps the
happening,
tension that gets ratcheted up in some of these scenes is like insane. I loved it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Okay, so would you guys recommend this movie?
100% if you like Mission Impossible.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got at least one friend we know of who's only seen a couple of these movies, and then he saw this one. He's like, well, I have to go back and watch all the others.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So, like, that's, like, I do think this is a good enough movie on its own.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you want to go into this cold blind, because there are some characters you probably want to have some understanding.
So, at least some emotional attachment to.
But it may also be like you see this film, be like, well, I need to know why.
Yeah.
And you go back and you watch these other, like, I think from like a franchise standpoint, this is not, I wouldn't call this the high point. It's also not the low point, because 2 is always there for us.
Yeah.
And it's not even
so
close.
rude.
That is so rude.
It's
You're
not even
forgetting about
close
the first
to that low
one.
point. No, the first one's a good movie. You leave me alone.
I think the second one has its own value.
I know, right?
It has its own value, and its value is you can sit back, kick back, relax, and make fun of it.
Tom Cruise's
Doves,
hair alone.
baby.
Oh, there was some lady.
He's got anime hair in that.
Some lady.
It really does.
Some lady in our theater when they were running. So we went to an AMC theater, and if people listening don't know, AMC theaters have started this thing where they get the cast to be like, "Thanks for watching a movie in the theater where they belong. Fight streaming or whatever."
But see, I don't think that that's an AMC thing. I feel like that's a Tom Cruise, because
That's a Tom Cruise
he did
thing.
that for
No,
Top
I've seen
Gun
it for
too.
D&D.
Oh,
Honor
really?
Among Thieves, it did it.
Oh, you're right, it
D&D
did.
do it. Yeah,
There's
you're
been
right.
it's an AMC thing.
Interesting.
Anyways, this lady sees Tom
Maybe
Cruise.
it's a Paramount thing, because that was D&D is also Paramount.
Could be, yeah. Either
Anyways,
way,
carry on.
This lady sees Tom Cruise in that video at the front with his long hair. She goes, "I hate Tom Cruise with long hair," and I went, "No!" like out loud, and like a decent. Like my wife grabbed my arm, like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "No." Wrong. I wanted to get up and be like, you should feel bad for saying things like that. Tom
Man,
Cruise
he had,
long hair is
the
incredible.
the early 2000s with long hair Tom Cruise. Ooh, yeah.
Just Magnolia Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last Samurai Cruise, Magnolia Cruise,
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 2 Cruise.
Hold on.
Delicious.
Don't put that in the same list. Come on.
It's exactly in the same
He's got
list.
the anime hair going on.
I do
Yes.
think ultimately it's a good film. It's totally worth watching.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been watching other Mission Impossible. Like the whole reason we did the Mission Rewatchable series, which if you haven't listened to any of those, you go check those out.
Yeah.
We go through the whole 1 through 6.
All
in
the
run-up.
movies.
But the whole reason we did it was for this, and I think I gained a lot watching those films, because
Yeah.
I haven't seen them in a long time, and they're great films. Like, dang.
They really are. And it does give you more of an appreciation for not only some of these characters, but like there are some throwbacks in this movie to like some of the older movies
Well,
that
particularly the first one.
Yes, there's a lot of
Dutch angles.
camera choices. Yeah, that were
Lot
they were
of
a
Dutch
nod
angles.
to
You know
Brian
what?
De Palma.
I was going to save that and leave it for later. But yeah, again, the sleight of hand thing. It's like one Dutch angle. Cool. 2 Dutch angles.
What if the whole film was Dutch angles, baby?
Like, we have a whole conversation that's just Dutch angle, cut to Dutch angle, cut to Dutch.
What you don't know is during COVID, Christopher McQuarrie hurt his neck, and he had it leaned to the left the whole time, and so everything's like, turn the camera, turn the camera.
See, when they bought the masks for the cast, the production crew, one strap was shorter than the other, so it was pulling everyone's head to the side.
Yeah, all the shots, yeah. So would you guys rewatch this movie?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I think when this...
I want to go watch it again just so I could watch the car chase again.
See,
it's really good.
I don't know
really
that I'd see it again in theater, but when it hits streaming, it's got to make it back on TV.
Oh, I'm probably buying this. I'm going to pre-order the Blu-ray tonight.
You've got like the whole Steelbook series of Mission Impossible at home. You hush.
I've got, the collection.
Yeah, I thought.
It's not a Steelbook, but it's a collection. All right, the entity has analyzed all of your online, behavior, and it knows you better than you know yourself.
Browser
And
history.
It knows you want to go to spoilersintendedpodcast.com to see more content like what you're listening to
I
right
knew it was
now.
coming this way, and I didn't.
Get down, Andrew. There's ones and zeros behind you. The entity is all around
It's
us.
listening to you right now.
It's listening to everything we're saying.
Oh, man. Well, if it's listening now, then it can listen to Discord, or actually, it can just read Discord.
Let me listen to the Discord. It's just silence.
Yeah, so we have a Discord where you can go and join. We have tons of channels where, we're talking about what we're listening to, what we're watching, what we're cooking, that kind of stuff. We also have spoiler channels of what we can talk about new movies like this one that you're listening to right now.
Dead Reckoning, indeed. Along with that, we also have links to our socials on the website. We got Facebook, we got Instagram, and that's it. So if you want to follow the cast there, we post up every week what we're watching, so you can kind of keep up with us and listen along. A couple teasers for the episodes as well. But yeah, follow us on there, like, comment, share with your friends.
All right, we're back.
Man, I could just listen to that.
Seriously, the music for
song.
this whole film was actually quite good.
So let me hit you with some trivia about the music.
Trivia!
So we're in the theater, right? And we're watching it. We get to the end. And by the way, if you go to afterthecredits.com, they usually have if there's an after.
Is there an
post-credit?
Yeah.
And they said, yes, there's a post-credit stinger. And I go, oh my God.
No, there's not.
I waited. It's that at the very end of the
sound.
credits, the sound of the entity comes up for a second. Oh. And that's it. And I was like,
it's watching.
Well, now I'll definitely say this, and I stay through all the credits for every single film.
Okay.
Because the people that have worked on that film, if I was in there, I'd want to watch it.
Well, also, it's really cool because when you do that, they get a message that says Andrew Knuckles sat through the film and watched the credits, and they
feel better about themselves. Yeah,
it's really cool.
Best grip boy feels better about himself.
Yeah, I made it. Andrew Knuckles sat through it.
I just think that it is respectful to the creators that don't normally get all of the credit for the film.
Sure. Okay.
Well, also sometimes you see very interesting items in the credits too, where you're like, oh, this is who worked on that. Or
yeah. There were 8 different studios that did the CG.
Okay, here comes the Marvel block of VFX studios. We're up to 10. Can we get 12?
Yeah. Well, so we get to the end. We're sitting in the credits and we're listening to music. And my wife, who rarely comments on music, turned and she goes, whoever was playing the snare drum needs a raise. And I go, yeah, dude. They had the snare on point. So, in an effort to keep the existing themes fresh and evolving, composer Lorne Balfe incorporated the top secret drum corps into the soundtrack after hearing them perform at the Queen's Jubilee in 2022.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Director Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise urged Balfe to use the signature drum corps sound, most notably during the opening and end credits.
Right, yeah.
But it's
because it
peppered
already
throughout.
has the bump, bump, bump.
Yeah.
You can spice that up.
But I looked up a couple of videos of the top secret drum corps, and they're really cool. It's a big drum line with a bunch of...
any of those kind of big drumline productions are always really cool to watch.
And what he did with the music from Fallout, and then he kind of... we're getting into score at this point.
That's okay,
but I mean, he really added more to it, to where it actually still sounds like a unique soundtrack compared to just rehashing a lot of the same stuff.
Sounds in it, but it's separate and distinct.
Yep.
And I appreciate that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I think too, when you listen to his Fallout soundtrack, it's the same thing of it's very cohesively in the Mission Impossible world, but it's different enough to have its own kind of flavor. And so going into this, I was excited to hear what he would do different and what he would do similar.
Yeah.
Okay, so some other trivia. Well, obviously earlier we went into like the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As of this movie, Tom Cruise is now older than John Voight was during the first Mission Impossible.
Oh my!
Wow.
That does not feel correct.
That feels
It doesn't.
That feels real bad. Someone's getting old. It's not me.
It's
Voight-
27 years.
Voight, 96?
96.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voight was 57 at the time, whereas Cruise was 57 when filming started on this bad
Man,
boy.
I'll say Voight looks way older than 57.
He really does.
I know.
Despite a fall.
It's just years of smoking and being
Yeah.
John Voight. Just yeah. So Christopher McQuarrie, this is another little like tidbit here, said that originally there had been a whole sequence at the beginning of the movie that was going to take place in 1989.
Interesting.
He's like, we talked about it as
the
a code.
80s so hot right now.
So hot right now. We talked about it as a cold open. We talked about it as flashbacks. We looked at de-aging. One of the biggest things about de-aging that I was looking at while researching was never did I find myself actually following the story. I was so distracted by an actor that I had known for however long was now suddenly this young person.
Hey, wow, that's how
Take
it
notes,
works.
Disney. Take notes.
I put that in there specifically because we're following right up on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I can't even remember the
5.
subtitle
Indiana
for-
Jones 5.
Yeah. The Dial of Disappointment. But anyways, it was the de-aging there, like they just like, we're going to give you a 30-minute sequence. We're going to really zoom in on that
Yeah.
face.
We're
Like
going to rely on the
gonna look at it.
technology.
we're going to waller in it. And this movie does a very good job, I thought, with like the flashbacks with the dark silhouettes and stuff of like, you get the point. We don't need to have 30 minutes of this. We
Yep.
don't need to have like a de-aged
It's also
Tom
one of
Cruise.
those where like, and Andrew also takes photographs, so he understands. You take photographs, you understand. Where it's one of those moments where you're like, there's a lot of color in this. Let's just black and white. Yeah, it makes
And that
it
fixes
way,
a lot
way
of
easier to
things.
read. And then
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing for like CGI. Like, looks kind of rubbery. Make it black and white. I bet it
Make
just
it
kind
black
of
and white.
disappears.
Yeah.
Put a little grain in there.
Yeah, put that grain in there. Maybe not the same grain from like Casino Royale's opening.
No, not that.
please
Not
Good
that
grain.
one.
Good grain.
Anything but that.
Yeah, this is the second tentpole movie of 2023 to feature a chase through Rome's city center. The other being Fast X.
Yeah.
Although this one is meant to be based in Venice at the time, right? No, it is in Rome.
no,
it is
Rome,
happening
yeah.
in Rome.
Yeah, it's Rome.
And so both movies feature the hero driving a car down the city's
Same
Spanish steps.
I looked at that and I was
Yeah.
like, so did they just like shut those steps down for like a week and a half?
They recreated them in
yeah.
both movies because they had this
okay.
whole
Yeah.
thing of like people were freaking out when they saw trailers. They're like, "You did that on the
Well,
those steps?"
so they actually have a thing in the credits. If you watch the credits, that
there he goes.
specifically says that the Spanish steps they were not filmed on or harmed in the making
no
of this
steps
film.
were harmed in the
steps were harmed
filming
making
of this
this film.
movie.
Well, no, I mean it's a historic
history. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where I saw the same set of steps the second time. I was like, okay, what the heck, guys? I know that we didn't run like a Dodge Charger on this, but like a Fiat,
Maybe,
Yeah.
Probably not the Humvee that
No, not
whatever she was
the
chasing
the
him
jacked up
So
Hummer. Or
while
whatever
we're
it was.
talking about that chasing, let's just go right into spectacle.
all right, yeah, kick it
What
off.
did you guys? Okay, I thought the spectacle was great. I already said it pre-spoiler wall. I think the action set pieces in this movie were killer. I saw it in IMAX, which there was a couple of scenes where I felt like I was sitting maybe a row or two too close to the screen, where I wanted to like appreciate what was going on. I was whipping my head back and forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like I thought the choreography of the chase, I thought for me, the best parts of a good chase scene is not just the chase parts. It's the setup, the twist in the middle of now we have to change cars. Now, like all the kinks that get thrown into the plan while the chase is unfolding. And I thought this chase scene was really good.
I have a few objections along those same lines.
Looks like you're overruled. Sorry.
Get out of here. Doesn't matter. There is no judge here.
It's
We
the
are-
wild.
there is a
man.
jury though.
Well, there is a jury. but there's no judge.
So, anyways, what's your objections?
Well, I think that and again,
Overruled.
it was the same issue of kind of going to the well too much. They kind of like the initial chase where like Cruz is chasing Grace,
Yep.
and she's like running through the cafe setup and hitting the like. Basically, Cruz or Ethan basically follows her through the trail of how many cars does she hit along the way.
Yeah, right.
Like one, I thought it was kind of funny because at that point it wasn't like necessarily she's a bad driver. It was just like hey, trying to speed chase through the streets of Rome is kind of hard.
That's what I read, especially all the
then-
scooters and stuff.
Yeah, but then they do the whole switcheroo. They get Cruz into the car. They do the little dumb sequence of like, the buttons are weird or whatever, which is just like, okay, whatever. And then it's like, well, she has to drive, and it's like, no, maybe she's just a bad driver.
Could
and it's
be.
just like this is really kind of awkward, and it feels almost unnecessary, like almost kind of like mean towards her.
Well, I think it's
character.
trying to illustrate that like Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt is a trained, like he's done this multiple movies. Mm-hmm. She's like a thief. She's like, I don't know, man, go forward.
And that's totally fine. Like if she's like, driving through and like, clipping stuff, like it's less about like, oh, she's not as polished as he is, and more like, hey, we did donuts for 3 minutes because I can't figure out how to turn right instead of left. Right. Kind of thing where it's like, okay, like y'all can calm down on that a little.
I liked it. I liked that concept.
Great.
I was laughing at it, but not necessarily for the best reasons.
Okay. I really liked the handcuff too, like the twist. It's on the wrong side.
Well, the concept with that was very solid because it was one of those things where she keeps trying to slip away. It's like, well, I got a solution, and then it's like, crap, I did the wrong hand.
I did the wrong hand. Yeah.
And it's like, well, this really is awkward, and like the whole interplay of the wheel versus the stick. And like the pedals. See, I think all of that was good.
Yeah.
And then also in the lead up to where he's in the train tracks and just Jackie Chan's the steering wheel off. That's all I can do was Rush Hour when he takes the steering wheel off.
Yeah, but that whole chase, particularly because you had essentially three different factions, four different factions that were involved in play. Because you had the U.S. Agents,
the collectors. They're the collectors.
Yeah, the collectors.
I actually really liked that duo.
I did too.
I thought they were really good. Yeah. Just not to get too far into performance, but like just in general, like as an added piece of pressure or whatnot in the story.
So Shea Wiggum's the guy that plays Briggs,
See, I don't know either of their names. I just know that they're the collectors.
Yeah, he was like, I've seen him in a few other things, and I've liked him in everything I've seen him in. He is kind of the same character in other stuff that he was in this. But
I mean, if you get typecast, it just sounds like you get paid.
So I had a question. Haley Atwell doesn't do her own driving stunts in this, correct?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because there were two shots that like clearly like she was like in the driver's seat that like that looked like it was an actual like she was doing it. Probably not. They probably have like
Tom Cruise might have been like, I'm really going to handcuff myself to you, so you're really going to have to drive this. Maybe that's why the driving's bad. Haley Atwell's like, I don't know how to do this.
Here we go. So Haley Atwell says Tom Cruise inspired her to do all of her own Mission Impossible stunts too.
But did she?
So what I'm wondering is when she says inspired, what she actually means was he handcuffed me to the wheel and we were there for 5 hours.
He said something about Scientology.
You're gonna learn.
He said something about Scientology. I looked down, there's the handcuff, and they said, roll. I don't know. I did what I could.
So the real big thing, I remember watching the trailer and seeing like the train and everything. I was like, oh, that's CGI. There's no way they're going to make a train. No, they made a whole train.
Oh yeah.
And it's all practical, and they're all on top of it, and they're actually doing all the stuff, which is just absolutely bonkers.
Well, there's a couple of shots that are like
a different movie that had stuff on top of a train.
The big thing is that they still have to speed up the footage to make speed up the background to make it look like it's going a lot faster than it actually is.
So inside the tunnel sequence, which while I really liked the sequence, especially where like Gabriel, like they're both laying flat looking at each other, and Gabriel pulls another knife. Like, dude, where do you have all these knives?
Yeah.
And then, like,
but when he starts crawling towards
he's like sliding it, like, he like slides the knife across the top to the other hand. He's like, oh my God, dude, calm down.
Yeah. Like Ethan Hunt should just be like, whoa.
There are rules, man.
Yeah. I was
We're supposed to ride this tunnel out and glare at each other.
There was a couple of shots that were like looking up at the characters with stuff that I think was green screen.
Yes.
I think they like pick up shots afterwards.
Awkward angles, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that was like
Dutch angles everywhere
because they couldn't probably get a giant camera, an IMAX camera down on the like top.
Well, because they like the big crash at the end with the engine going into the water, like they actually did that, which I think is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
and obviously
in miniature format, right?
No, it's real.
Train?
It's a real actual train. They ran it into a quarry.
I found $50 million of your budget right here. We built a bridge. Why?
Take this, COVID.
We built a bridge so we could blow it up. Why? So we could run a train off of it. Oh God!
They did it in a quarry, right?
They did. Yeah. So they threw it into the water. So the splashes and stuff are real, but then everything else is composited around it, obviously.
Yeah. So it's like half real, half.
Yeah.
But like the actual physical train going into water is a train going into water,
which is just so
That's
cool.
Bonkers. That's bonkers.
And on it, like the whole kind of like Jurassic Park 2 Lost World bit where they're like going up the falling train cars was phenomenal.
It reminded me, and you guys haven't played this, but Uncharted 2 opens with like Nathan Drake like wakes up.
I just got PTSD flashbacks
from the movie. I still haven't watched the movie.
Is he strapped to a cargo net?
So he's in the seat of a train, and it's like hanging off a cliff, vertical or whatever, and he like realizes it, and stuff is falling. So the first opening scene of the game, you have to like jump and climb. It's very similar to like when the piano is about to fall.
Yeah.
And then it flashes back, and then you get a really good another train sequence in that game where it shows like how the train
you got
crashed.
there,
Yeah. And that was the first time I played a game where like I was on a train shooting at people.
Yeah.
And you have to account for the turn in the train plus like the
kind of motion,
the sway of it, plus like the lead, the bullet. It was very hard. But anyways, I loved the whole time I'm watching. I'm like, this makes me want to play Uncharted 2 again, because it was very similar with like the climbing up the inside of the train. I liked the alleyway fight.
Oh yeah.
With, I always want to call her Mantis because she plays Mantis in Guardians.
Paris.
Yeah, Paris.
Yeah.
In that with her and the lead pipe and that other dude in that whole alleyway, I thought that was really well done.
I'm gonna say positive things about that scene, right?
Okay.
Because there's always that kind of that moment when you're like, hey, here's a big, strong dude who's well trained, and then just a woman who's 50 pounds lighter than him, and they're like, we match up on equal grounds, and they each fight for a while. Where she's just like, I brought a lead pipe. You're bigger than me.
I've equalized the situation.
Like, you know how I solved the fact that you weigh 50 pounds more than me? I brought 4 foot of lead pipe.
This right here, clink, clink, clink.
Yeah. So like anytime that happens, I'm like, okay, good. I feel better here.
And it's actually a great character moment too. After he basically bests both of them, and then he doesn't kill her, and he's so frustrated because he's just like, I have to go save.
Well, he just got misled by the technology.
Yep.
Which is a great moment in that, I think, too, of like where they're like, no, the comms are taking over, and this is kind of in plot. And
I was worried about that the whole. I mean, we'll get into it with plot, but I was waiting for that shoe to drop. It's like, okay, well, if it's gotten into all these systems, then at what point does the whole Benji and Luther sit in a room and tell him where to go fail? Oh, here it is.
Yeah, there it is, right there. Yeah.
Well, because you realize in that moment like how much they rely on all this technology and stuff, like the satellites. Like he's trying to hack into the old Russian satellites to bypass it. They're trying to use like what was the radio they were trying to use? It wasn't shortwave.
It was like
something
else.
I can't
something very like ham radio essentially.
Yeah, it was like
old
school.
They like go back to like the old school for like the CIA or whatever, the old school situation room where it's all CRTs.
Yeah.
Or like the scene where they're all typing out files so they can have it preserved. Like all of that was phenomenal. That's great.
Yeah.
But we're into plot kind of stuff. But like the actual shot of just the huge room where it's just like,
it's great.
We just grabbed every agent. You came into work today. You're on a typewriter. What? I analyze it. Get on the typewriter. Start typing.
You love the chief engineer that gets the call. What do you need?
You need me to find
900 typewriters.
How many typewriters?
How many CRT monitors in a room?
The only thing that I didn't really like was a lot of the Dutch angles, and I do understand that it was kind of a callback to the first Mission Impossible because there's a lot
but it wasn't a good call then either.
Yeah,
I liked them. I
don't
liked
like
them.
Dutch angles.
Dutch angle
I
as
ate
a
'em up like soup.
spice.
Sustained.
Dutch angle as a spice.
Overruled.
Tasty. Dutch angle as the whole meal. Not so much.
Yeah, there was a lot of Dutch
There's
angles.
a lot of Dutch angles.
I liked them. It worked for me.
And like it's one of I almost wouldn't be mad at if there literally wasn't just a whole conversation between 4 people where every cut was just from one Dutch angle to another.
That scene was a bit much.
And it was like, come on, guys, straighten the camera out. You're killing me
So
here.
you're telling me that the AI can do this,
Right,
and then it's like everyone slowly leaning to the sideways.
It would have been great if they cut to everybody and everybody just like slowly leans
They're like,
to the right of the
like
frame.
slowly working their way towards the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on, unless we have anything else to say about spectacle, into performance.
It'll come up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Haley Atwell, stealer of the show.
I think she did fantastic.
She was phenomenal.
I mean, I love Haley Atwell anyways, but she did really good in this role.
I mean, she's been fine in like all the Marvel films that I've seen and that kind of stuff. But like this one was like, ooh, she's a character. She's an actress I actually want to look out for now.
So she's been in a bunch of like period dramas, like British stuff that my wife's watched, and I've seen her in that, and she's really good. And then she was in a really good Black Mirror episode. I want to say it was like season 2 or 3. Don't quote me on that, but it was like fantastic episode of Black Mirror, and she like takes the show in that one. So like when you see her in the Marvel stuff, and even as Agent Carter,
she just doesn't get enough.
It's fine. She does like the show Agent Carter. That's another one that like it was fine. I didn't watch all of it. My wife watched it and enjoyed it. She did good, but she's given kind of like
there's always so much to do there,
right? Yeah. So it was what it was. So I thought in this especially she did again exactly what didn't happen in Indiana Jones, where she was this thief who was out for her own, but she didn't become grating, and she wasn't just like so.
Because
like mean, I guess, spirited about it.
It wasn't mean spirit. She was much more lighthearted.
Yeah.
I will say, like, and it's nothing against her or the character or anything. I had small issues just because at the start, where her character's introduced, and like you knew that Ilsa, Rebecca Ferguson, was still around, I was like, oh man, she's gonna replace her. And I really like Ilsa's character and Rebecca Ferguson, so I was like, kind of like, man, you really got to sell me.
Well, and she didn't really get to do. Rebecca Ferguson didn't really get to do much in this one.
She didn't do a whole lot, yeah. And it's a little disappointing on that. Whereas, like, if Haley Atwell, like, if Grace as a character had not existed and it had just been Ilsa the whole way through, I feel like I would have been just because it's the character I know and like, and obviously what they did with her, it works for the emotional connection. It just felt maybe a little cheaper because we already kind of had the new side chick as a ride.
It wasn't so much that it felt cheaper because of that for me.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think for me, what felt cheaper about it was that, like, even though we've seen Ilsa in 2 movies before this, I feel like we've never really gotten the meat and potatoes.
We haven't gotten a lot of time with her.
Really. Yeah, because she's always been super cagey.
Yeah, like essentially the what we have is that we keep saving each other's lives and we kind of think each other are hot.
Yeah.
That's the depth of their relationship.
Like the end of
to a degree.
Fallout kind of felt like it was pointing more in like a deeper direction.
It was, yeah.
And we get a very little bit of it in this. I wanted more time with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because at the end of Fallout, you get the closure with his ex-wife, and you're like, all right, there's no one here now.
Yeah, we're wide open. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, again, it's no knock on Rebecca Ferguson's performance or Haley Atwell's performance. It's just, in terms of who got the most time, I would have liked Ilsa to get a little more time and for us to develop that a little more. So then as we get later in the movie, it hits harder. Right?
Yeah, because to me, like, I felt like there was more.
And this is all really more plot than performance.
It is, but we can talk about the performance of Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise together, right?
Which I felt there was
more chemistry between them than there was between Rebecca Ferguson and Tom Cruise in the other movies.
Ultimately, her character is so standoffish that you don't get it. You don't get as much
where Haley Atwell or Grace kind of wears her emotions on her sleeve.
Well, and I think this is kind of just fundamental to who the characters are. Grace, as a character, wants to get up close and personal because you can't pick a pocket any other way.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So she's used to that kind of.
She has to sell herself to, like, when she does the dead drop with the guy at random, right? She has to pull those off constantly for her role, whereas Ilsa's character is just basically you have to be the quiet.
She's the sniper.
Yeah. Character. So, like, within those characters, again, it just kind of plays out. Yeah. And I think that Haley Atwell's performance of Grace works very well for that, very believable and pulls it off well. And again, the chemistry there between her and Tom, especially, I mean, come on now, we handcuffed the two of them together.
Oh, yeah.
Made them go through the romantic streets of Rome together. Like,
it was perfect,
Well, they had that little bit where I don't totally remember. They're walking out of a door and they flip. I think they ditch the old car and they flip their arms around each other and then it brings them down holding hands.
Right.
And it's kind of like, oh, that's cute.
Well, so it reminds me a lot of the Tomorrow Never Dies from James Bond.
Yes.
Where Michelle Yeoh and Pierce Brosnan are handcuffed together and they're having to kind of decide who's going to drive it and whatever, which is phenomenal. I love that dynamic.
It's like immediate sexual tension.
Yes.
It works a little better there just because both of them are extremely confident drivers. Like, this is where my complaint came from, right?
Yeah.
Was they're both really confident. Like, there is no moment where I'm like, Bond is going to wreck this or Michelle Yeoh is going to wreck this.
Yeah, because you know that they're both like peak
they're
secret agent.
Up there. Yeah. Whereas with the way they portrayed Grace a little bit was
she's a little
almost
doofy behind the wheel.
Yeah, like it's like, do you lived in like Europe your whole life? You just don't have a driver's license?
I mean, it's possible.
I don't know. Maybe
they have really good public transportation.
Which way goes forward?
Yeah, he could have just been like, have you never driven before? She's like, no. I ride public transit. Then I can steal from people. Right?
I have a bunch of passports in my purse, not driver's licenses.
Yeah, like that would have been a great line.
I want to shout out Henry Czerny coming back as Kittredge.
Dude, Kittredge is just like his portrayal as Kittredge is so good.
Well, again, I want to give a huge shout out to the fact, just like we said with Michael Keaton in Flash, right? Mm-hmm. Like this guy stepped back into this role after 26 years and nailed
every
Kittredge
bit of it.
again.
Yeah, it felt like Kittredge, yeah.
Because there's so many times where we have like these revisits of like a franchise where they bring a character back and they don't feel the same as they used to.
Yeah, because you know
so many years have passed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and he's always been good. Like almost watching these films, all I feel like is I'm just watching Robert Ritter from Clear and Present Danger, and he's been promoted. He's made it further up the chain in CIA, and now he's just this guy. It's like the same. Like if in the first Mission Impossible his name had just been like Mr. Ritter, I'd be like, oh, they're Jack Ryan and Ethan Hunt live in the same universe. Let's go.
Also, Vanessa Kirby, she did really good.
Yeah, I was about to call her out. No, it's fine. I mean, she's fantastic. Like, she has very much, because she is Max's daughter from the first film, which I really like, that kind of tie-in, which we talked about in Fallout, but then...
Yeah, they do that slight nod in Fallout, and this one they should
put it in front, like, hey, if you didn't pick up on this, figure it out.
They look at the screen.
But she, like, her playing essentially two different versions of her character is really impressive.
She did really good.
And that's actually, I think, where Mission Impossible gets really fun, is you have these moments where, like, Ethan Hunt puts on the mask, but now it's just more time for, like, Philip Seymour Hoffman to be on screen.
Yeah.
Playing a different... So, like, it's you get
him
these...
playing Tom Cruise playing him.
Yeah. And it's like you get... If you're going to hire these actors who are really good at acting, you just
let them act.
You get a chance to basically say, hey, you get to play two roles this time. Hey, you get to. This is what you're going to impersonate yourself.
Which, as an actor, like, you know, I would assume you look forward to that.
Yeah, I think that would be one. You get more screen time out of it, and like it's almost more gratifying because you get to play both sides of the coin in a sense. Yeah. So every time that they do that play, where like again they did the scene here where Grace is putting the mask on and the camera spins, and now it's just not. Haley Atwell anymore. It's just literally Vanessa Kirby
with brown eyes.
With brown eyes. Yeah.
So, like, I feel like that play throughout the franchise has worked well because every time they do it, they've chosen actors who can handle that dual role well.
Yeah.
Also, you know, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg back again.
Classic.
Both do really well.
Yeah.
You know, nothing like
I don't think they gave Ving Rhames more than he has much to work with.
He literally has a line where he's like, I have to go off to a closed-off room by myself now. And he's just gone for the rest of the movies. All right, well, y'all are like, we're only paying Ving Rhames for half a film.
You see him looking at his watch and at the director?
They're paying him to create exposition for the AI.
Well, he does it well, though.
And also to pop back in, you know, to save the day in the next film with the code solved or whatever.
Presumably,
so it's interesting because to me, I've always felt like they're like Luther and Benji's characters kind of conflicted because it's kind of like having two tech guys.
Yeah, they have two different.
And they've kind of struggled. Like you see it more in this film too, where Benji kind of does the rabbit run. He gets out and does something on the side.
Yeah.
And so they've kind of struggled to separate them to kind of keep their roles.
I like that they kind of talked about it in this, though.
They did, yeah. They were like, they were kind of
here
batting an eye at it. Like, which one of us is better at programming? I'm not going to answer that.
Also, Cary Elwes just basically in his, like, you know,
I was like,
most of his career,
Cary Elwes?
In most of his career, he's played a Class A dirtbag. He does it so well. He's got that just attitude, the like smugness, and then with this one, it's less the smugness and it's more of a like, I'll do whatever it takes. You know,
I'm here to be as greasy as possible.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's funny because most people's exposure to Cary is Princess Bride.
Right.
He is not in any way, shape, or form a dirtbag.
No, it's film. Like the one role he has.
Like every other casting director would be like, yeah, you know, you could be a pretty good leading man, but have you considered being a dirtbag?
In real life or on screen?
I also really liked Isaiah Morales.
Isai
Morales.
Yeah, Gabriel.
He did great.
Excellent.
He has that screen presence.
I've seen him in some stuff, and I was looking at his IMDb, and it's like mostly like TV stuff. Yeah. I'm like, this guy needs to be in like a lot more.
He's got presence on it. He has the command of a room kind of thing going on, where he's like, I walked into a room full of other people, and I know I'm in charge.
Yeah. He is in control pretty much at all points.
Again, it's the Philip Seymour Hoffman thing. It's the same type of villain, and that's what I want from this kind of villain.
Well, and even you know, Lane from the last movie, like he had that same like the air of like, I'm not worried because I know exactly how this is going to shake out. You know, and he really had that going, especially in that one meeting with him and like the White Widow.
Oh yeah, with everybody in the room.
He's just so calm, and then like, you know, when Ethan's like, he's scared. You know, no one sees him, but he's terrified.
He's terrified. Yeah.
We also have to talk about, you know, our main man Tom Cruise.
Yeah, we kind of danced around like, oh yeah, this person with Ethan, this person with Ethan.
Well, because like at this point, like
he's a known quantity.
He's a known quantity, and really he's played Ethan, you know,
for so long,
competently and effectively for like 27 years. He doesn't do anything in this that's like groundbreaking.
Yeah,
but he's perfectly fine.
Well, I think the real issue would be if we brought up like, well, we got to talk about Tom Cruise because what's going on with this. Then it would be like, hey, there's a problem. Whereas here, it's just we just expect it and we can just talk about everybody else around him.
Yeah. He does great.
All right, let's move on to the score by Lorne Balfe. Thoughts?
It's excellent.
It is fantastic, and I think it's such a good soundtrack just because he is consistently building on top of whatever has already existed and just turning it into something new, while also still keeping the same general theme, which is very similar to what like John Williams and stuff does, for like Star Wars and everything, and Indiana
These are
Jones.
kind of long-term franchises.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily get to reference that a lot for other, non-Star Wars or et cetera.
Yeah, and because of that, because obviously he hasn't done all the music for all 7 films, he's only done the last 2, and it really shows that he's just taken what already existed and just turned it into something.
Well, and I mean, they're taking
really
a theme
heart
from
pumping.
the '60s here and making things happen with it.
Yeah,
not just for the intro and the outro, but also like kind of seeding it throughout the film.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, he we said in the trivia that he looked for that top secret drum corps to add like a different sound to it.
Yeah,
and I feel like he did the same thing with Fallout, where like there was it was some kind of drum. I can't remember what it was, but it was like featured prominently in a lot. So it
during
takes,
the running sequences,
especially the running. Yeah, like he takes what's there and then he adds like a flavor to it, so it's still true to what's going on. Because anytime you run into like an iconic theme song or something that's very like, I know how this should sound, you don't want to like change it so much that it like
it's not distinct anymore.
Yeah,
it loses that flavor. You want.
and then you don't also want to overuse it, because then it loses its punch, because particularly for really long running franchises, you have these kind of emotional connections to like certain scenes from other films that have that music in it, and if you use it incorrectly, then it's just not going to tell your audience the thing that you want to tell them.
Yeah, well, and it's also kind of like phoning it in, like temp music wise, where they're like, well, I want this to sound like an Indiana Jones film, and John Williams is just like, here, have my score from Last Crusade.
Well,
that's just the true like the laziness play.
Yeah, so Disney did this with Rise of Skywalker.
That's
Which
a movie.
The last one?
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah.
Rise of Scott.
Yeah, Rise of Scott. Okay. They did that to where they had like whoever was doing the audio choices had like Luke and Leia's theme during Yoda's theme and the Force theme, and something completely different with like C-3PO.
They're just making salad.
It was. They're just like, this is Star Wars. We're going to put it here because that sounds good. And it's like, no, like because these themes have so much meaning to the other 8 films that have come before it that you can't use it
here. You need to separate these out.
Yeah.
You need to use these at the right moment.
Yeah. And this is not one of those cases. Like they actually utilize a lot of the themes and stuff that he's done and have already existed to like really great effect, I think.
Yeah, I want to play a track called Curtain Call. It's the credit song, it's basically the last song, and it really does a good job of showing off the top secret drum corps. And again, using the main theme.
I mean, that's just straight up drum corps right there.
Yeah.
Well, but then just a second you get the horns coming in.
Yeah. Once the horns hit, it really is like the drum corps, you could listen to that and be like, that's just a drum corps. And when the horns hit, you're like, okay, this is Mission Impossible.
Right.
Well, and then you get the main theme in here. And it's like, and the best part though is that the thing that always bothered me about other Mission Impossible films is that like this theme, I want it to last longer than what it normally does, because it has like the ba-ba
usually
at the
it's
end.
just that opening credits.
Like right here.
And then it keeps going, and it's like,
yeah. This feels like, to me, this is the version of this song that like every, college band in America is going to be trying to play at halftime shows, because
absolutely,
it's just perfect for like the drum line
really
and like
is.
the horn section. Yeah. I love this soundtrack. I haven't listened to all of it, but like there were so many points during
and
the
they
movie.
do a really good job, because I mean it's a pretty tense movie.
Yeah.
And my wife showed me her watch midway
ramping
through.
the tension.
Yeah, well, she showed me the watch midway through where it was like, you should relax, take a moment. But like they do like the several bits where it's just like it just builds and builds, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Well, because like that's the big thing about these kind of films. If you have bad music or bad audio mixing, and you have these action sequences, particularly with Marvel films, you don't get that level of tension that this kind of like holds on to you, because the music is so key to these scenes.
Yeah, well, it's like in the Marvel films where Alan Silvestri's actually doing the music and stuff, you feel like, oh man, they've really like matched this scene with some good music.
Do you want to know why Endgame is so good?
It's Alan Silvestri.
Alan Silvestri.
Yeah,
like 100%.
Yeah. But like this movie has basically cemented my appreciation for Lorne Balfe. Like I already thought dude was great. Like when we did D&D, you know, we were reviewing it, I was like, man, a lot of this music's good.
It's fire here,
And then when I realized he did Fallout, I was like, ooh, and we reviewed Fallout recently. I was like, man, his music's good. Now I'm like, this is the guy to watch for me. Like he's one of my favorite up and coming. He's been around forever.
He's been around for a while.
But like he's finally getting a lot of exposure. Yeah.
So I will say too, not necessarily score related, but kind of sound design.
Yeah.
Their approach to the representation of the entity with like the little noise.
Yeah.
Because especially if we go back into the 90s and early 2000s, when movie directors are like, I want to show cyberspace.
Digital.
It's like time to like fly through 3D buildings. Like it just didn't work, right? And here we get a little bit of that where it's kind of like when they first introduced, like, what is this, like Winamp? Like what's going on here? But you add in the sound and like you can play that sound at other bits. Because like we have like the meeting at the gala where it's basically like a John Wick rave, all the expensive people.
Everyone really likes the John Wick rave.
Hey man, if you're in Europe, like
I just got
that's how they do it over there. I guess
in Rome,
literally.
But like they're doing basically kind of the electronica rave type lighting, and then it forms into the entity shape. I think that worked better than the initial Russian sub bit where I was literally just like, what is this Winamp?
Yeah.
So the other thing too, and I'll definitely say this, and I really try not to just like rail on Indiana Jones and Dial of Disappointment.
And
however,
we're here. We're in it.
So they had terrible dialogue audio mixing for Indiana Jones for me. Like there were multiple scenes that I just you just couldn't hear what they were saying.
I don't think I had that issue in my.
It may have been my theater. Our theater for Mission Impossible, you could hear every single line of dialogue.
Are you in IMAX, right? Like me.
Yeah.
The volume's just screaming at you so loud. You can't help but hear anything. I don't want to hear it anymore. Too bad.
Well, actually, no. It's actually while we're here talking about sound design, and since we're in the score, there were way too many train whistles in this film.
Oh my gosh.
There were a lot there at the end. Yeah.
The bit where he set the guy's body up to blow the whistle, I was like. And it rocked. I was like, that's gonna get on my nerves. And I was right. That'd get on my nerves.
He should have looked at the audience like fourth wall breaking and just be like, I gotcha.
Deal with it.
You're stuck here with me.
Yeah.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Yeah, there was a lot of train whistles.
Yeah, there were.
There were. Okay, let's and no one in the passenger cars is like going what's this guy doing on this whistle?
I thought that it was going to be one of those things where it kept like every time the train starts to rock as it's going faster on the curves, it goes off, and so like that's like the signal to them of it's a
we've got this many more curves.
Like a dangerous moment to walk, and they just didn't play off that. It was just, here's another whistle. Hey, you know what? It's been kind of tense for a minute. Let's blow that whistle. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, that's the thing is like it does amp the tension up because you have that really high pitch. And you're just like.
The AI told him to do it. Like we can't really blame him.
He had the face rejuvenation mask where he's talking to the AI in the casket or whatever, and then it's just like the AI is like, here's how to disable the train brakes. Here's how to disable the train engine. Here's how you make the whistle go off a lot. Why do I want to do that? The people will hate it.
The AI is like, don't question it.
What earlier in the movie, Ethan Hunt says like he doesn't just want people to die, he wants them to suffer. And like, oh yeah, I see it right here. Yeah.
We understand.
I feel it, Ethan. I feel it. Yeah. Okay, let's transition from there. Into plot, and let's talk about the name, the entity. Who wants to take it?
That's a dumb name.
So I'm of two minds.
They said it way too many times.
They said it way too many times. Number one. I don't love it, but I think in the world we've created where there is a group called the Syndicate and a group called the Apostles, it works.
I mean, yeah, sure.
It's the same,
the something,
right? So like, I get it from that standpoint of like, it doesn't feel out of place in the Mission Impossible universe.
It's just a silly name.
It's like, okay, guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way this did not exist on the 60s show.
Call this the GFS 3000 and like, I'd be more happy with that.
Yeah, or
honestly,
I don't know. Like the entity just sounds like too supernatural to me.
It's almost just like they really wanted to say cyberspace, and they couldn't say
Like, it could have been-
cyberspace because it
They
sounds
could've
like
just
it's
said the
early
AI.
2000s.
It could have just been called like Job, or like from the first,
Job.
or like, it had like a weird code name.
Well, give it something like a Revelations type thing where it's like an end of the world.
yeah, yeah,
Whatever.
that'll work. Yeah,
like
instead,
the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse or something. I don't know.
I guess give it something. Yeah.
the difference is no one named it. It's an amalgamation of like
it made it
multiple.
We named
yeah.
it Famine. Why did you name it Famine?
Yeah, like didn't you know that you name it that things are gonna go bad?
we named it after I don't know one of the plagues of Egypt. Like, and then you released you released a plague on the. Do you people not
we
understand
didn't
how
think of
this
that.
makes the
Yeah.
U.S. government look like?
Name it really chill, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Are we the baddies?
Name it the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dude abides.
Yeah. So plot wise,
my big issue with this was that Luther and Simon didn't really get to do
They just kind of existed.
a lot.
Yeah.
Or Benji.
I mean,
sorry,
I liked
Benji.
the airport scene. I liked their back and
that
forth
was-
there.
yeah,
Well, that's
that
a
was a
good
great
start, and then they just kind
they
of
just
fade away.
didn't really do anything
Yeah.
else. And I didn't like that Luther was just like, I'm the exposition dump for everyone in the theater.
Constantly.
Every single
Constantly.
scene I'm in. It's
Yeah.
like, but you need to do the thing to stop the entity because the entity can see the thing because the entity can also
Right.
do that. And it's like, stop. We know.
One,
Yeah.
like say the entity once, and then just say it. After
Yeah.
that. Stop.
But he said
with
the entity a lot.
Well, and on top of that, like I think the amount of
This is all
exposition,
entertainment, not plot, but whatever. It's fine.
whatever. No, it's plot. It's because
That's absolutely plot.
They're over explaining
Yeah.
a lot of the
That's okay.
stuff.
Fair enough.
Show, don't tell. Don't tell, don't show.
I think they were probably, and again, we struggle with this, or like we've talked about this with multiple movies of like these movies made for like an international audience of like, are they trying to make it crystal
drive
clear
it home.
what's
Yeah.
going home so that no matter what language you're watching this in,
Cruz wants
There's
his Chinese money. He
Right.
wants Chinese people to understand how this goes.
I mean, clearly the international box
Yeah, it's
office
like,
is doing
they're
him very
doing
well.
great.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, and it's working. So the entity knows. But yeah, I agree that like you said earlier before the spoiler wall, Steven, that like the plot doesn't fit together as nicely as some of the other
it
ones.
needs to
It's
come
not as
together.
linear.
Well, and
Yeah.
also there was an issue towards the later parts of the film where I
Mm-hmm.
thought something would happen because of how other things have gone, right? So
Yeah.
it's the moment where Benji is in his car and he switches it over to auto drive and then he's changed his seats.
Yeah, and
he
I was
looks at
like,
the
oh, this is
seat,
a bad move.
Right?
Yeah.
So he buckles his seatbelt, yada, yada, yada. And I looked at that and I was like, everything we've set up to this point is that the technology will fail. And I was like, but because it's a BMW, I know it can't.
Yeah,
because
'cause they're a
BMW
sponsor.
is always the good guy.
Doesn't
it's the
allow
same,
it, yeah.
It's the same
Yeah.
problem as like this
Apple.
person pulls an iPhone out. Well, they're not a villain.
Yeah.
Because Apple
Right.
won't allow
Apple won't
villains,
allow
to, have
villains
iPhones.
to hold iPhones.
So like as soon as this other dude walks in the room, and pulls out a Samsung, like, I found the villain. We all suspect the dude with the iPhone, but that's not like it's
Yeah.
a recurring problem with just movie productions.
Just
Yeah.
because of sponsors.
Right.
and that
It's
kind
the
of thing.
meta factor.
But like
of
that,
it, yeah.
that moment happens with Benji, and like that is a golden moment for something to go wrong with again the over reliance on technology.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen.
They may have very well had a scene with that, and BMW
was
may
like,
have been like, absolutely
not
not.
my
For all
car.
we know. Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have got into editing and had to cut that out.
So, okay, I have a question.
Okay.
And this was something that kind of like, I probably, if I watched it the second time, I maybe get it.
I think
but,
you
like,
might be about to say the same thing I was about to.
Well, okay, so in the meeting,
Yeah.
and they're all kind of
Be
going
more
back.
specific,
and,
which meeting?
The meeting with like White Widow, Gabriel,
okay. All right.
Yeah.
and all of them. They're all talking and stuff like that. And then he's just like, "You got to choose, Ethan. It's either Grace or Elsa or Ilsa,
Ilsa, yeah.
and you just got to figure it out." And then like, there doesn't really seem to be anything that's stopping them from like engaging him on the bridge.
What do you mean
don't
engaging?
understand.
Like fighting him on the bridge.
Well, they do fight
Yeah.
him.
But no, there is nothing that is stopping them from like going a different direction.
Oh, like what you're saying, there's
Like-
no real reason for them to have to continue this fight on the bridge.
Correct.
You could like
Right.
step on the bridge, be like, Gabriel's here. He pulled a knife. I'm leaving.
So that
Yeah.
that was
I pull
my
a gun.
my thing was a slight adjustment to that was like I understand Grace's like motivations. I got to get out of
100%
here.
the key. Yeah, yeah.
When she gets to the bridge, I thought she's gonna turn and go back the other way. Like,
Yeah.
why would you continue
Well,
to go
she's-
across the bridge?
she's
Why would you
also-
engage?
She's been so
Cagey.
interested in her own self-survival.
Right.
Like her motivations are all about, at this point, me. why would she, unless she thinks there's actually money in it, which she doesn't believe at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
And,
self-preservation.
Like, she sat in the meeting where the dude said, one of these two women will die. Like, oh, I'm going to approach him. He seems like a stand-up guy.
So
No!
I think all we needed was a little bit more of a like, there's only one way out, and it's across this bridge.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
can't go
Like,
back. I needed a reason for why she couldn't just turn around.
We need the four-way chase of earlier where she's being hounded by something to this point.
Yeah,
and
and
he's waiting for her because he knows the outcome.
Yeah.
That's calculated.
Well,
Right.
that's
like-
the thing. Like
yeah.
that, I was like, but they're like,
Just turn around and-
seemingly just go the other way.
Go back to Ethan. Yeah. Like
She's
she's
got a
running.
knife.
She's running from Ethan.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get it. But then when you know, self-preservation, she doesn't trust anybody. You get to the bridge, it's like, I pick Ethan, I turn around and run right back
Yeah, you know what?
immediately.
I choose.
you know?
I choose differently.
I thought what they were going to do was have Ilsa come up on the other side and like save her at the last second, you know, like there. And they kind of did that, but it was like,
but the
it was
fight
not
is
much more
over.
delayed.
Like it needed to,
Right.
like, yeah, I don't know. It was just really weird.
That was the one part of the plot that I think was like they could have given me more reasoning for why she had to go across that bridge,
And
why she
Elsa
had to engage.
fight him besides just her trying to kill him
Right.
just to stop everything from happening, which I get. Like, that's part of her character.
Yeah.
I still don't like that they fridged her. Like,
No,
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. Especially after they kind of do the initial rope-a-dope about her dying at the start of the film.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
to go back to that, like, that's already kind of a tug. And then to go back to that, like, it's the mask thing, right? That MI does where it's, oh, this person's dead. Like MI2 does it.
Yeah,
This person's
yeah.
dead and he's right here. He's vulnerable. He's going to be killed. And it's like, oh, the mask reveal. Like, I get they kind of went for that with the whole she's been marked deceased. But at the same time, you already did the whole Ilsa's died play. Doing it again later in the film just kind of feels silly.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
something. I don't know.
It's more like I understand like on a certain level why they did it because like they're trying to make it to where Ethan wants to kill this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Yeah.
There should
'Cause then
be
it closes all the door,
yeah.
all the avenues.
there should be that temptation from Ethan not to spare his life for the sake of the mission, but I need to kill him because he killed Elsa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's killed so many people. You know,
Yeah.
I've
But
lost so many people in my
He already
life.
killed his like whoever
Whoever
in the
that was,
black
yeah.
and white. Yeah, we don't. I don't
The
know if we
first.
ever get a name, but early girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we already have pretty good motivation there,
Right.
And the dude just made a reappearance, and it's kind of been like in the airport scene with the glasses where he's kind of playing with his mind.
Yeah.
So like I don't know that we necessarily needed it. And again, in terms of like, would I like to see Ilsa's character in another movie? Yes. So
Right.
like as to my extent of this, it didn't feel like it was like I don't know. It's weird because like you need character death to put stakes
Right.
on the field.
That's where I was getting at, but
then
I
it almost
understand why
felt-
they did
it.
it.
Almost
but-
felt fake or something. It doesn't feel
It didn't feel as impactful as you would want it to.
we didn't feel as
something more.
earned.
She needed
Yeah.
to go down. Like if we've built up that there's kind of a relationship between her and Cruz or Hunt, then you know what we need? We need her to go down saving Hunt.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
the
to where
rando
he-
chick that she's seen
Yeah.
twice. Like
Yeah, where he's fighting,
Yeah. Like,
Gabriel.
maybe Grace
and-
is fighting Gabriel, then Hunt
Ethan
enters the
shows up.
scene,
Yeah.
but he's been beat up in the alley fight and he's not up to the task, and she steps in and dies saving him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then it's a whole different thing.
Boom, totally worth
Yeah.
it. Total huge payoff.
Yeah.
And
well, worth it is a.
it's a
So-
yeah, it's a relative
The
term.
better way to make it
It's a
worth it
better-
would have been if they talked about like this is my first time in Venice or whatever
Yeah.
she says to him, and then we get to see a little bit of a date.
Yeah.
like we kind of get hinted at it when they arrive at the party, but it's like I want to see what y'all do in those like the 2
Yeah.
hours between there. Like if we
Right.
could have gotten a little bit of like
Emotional connection
They
there,
they
yeah.
finally after in 3 movies have gotten an emotional avenue to actually be together. Then you have the scene
and then
where
she makes the sacrifice.
she makes the sacrifice
because again, like
Yeah.
it's her sacrificing herself for really
greater
it's
good,
technically
really.
the mission,
Yeah.
the greater
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But it feels like a sacrifice for Grace, which
It does.
doesn't have the same payoff as if the greater good and Hunt
yeah.
wind up together.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's weird. It's not a minor
it's the,
quibble.
Yeah, it's the weakest part of the film, I think.
Yeah.
I would say so. Yeah.
But
Well, especially because again, he pulled a knife. Okay, well, I'm just gonna leave.
yeah,
Right.
So you didn't bring a gun. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Just making sure you shooting now. You're not.
No,
I'm
no,
leaving.
go.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna walk away
Yeah, like
until you start to run. I'm walking.
I'm gonna move briskly.
Now,
Yeah.
I will say though that both of the knife fights that they have on the bridge,
They're
are
good fights.
Oh,
very good.
fantastically
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
choreographed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like really well done.
Well, and I think to an extent, So the choice, it was really weird because we had these sequences all together. So the choice for the fight on the bridge, where even though it's a bridge, it's a pretty big bridge, pretty wide bridge.
Yeah,
right.
So open, they really get to make a lot of moves. We get a wide angle. You can see a lot of the fighting. And then we also have Ethan fighting in the alleyway that's like the width of his shoulders.
The most cramped. It's like the juxtaposition
you
almost.
You couldn't even fit a camera in there. Like if we had just gotten like a shot top down of that alleyway, and then he fights like that for a little bit, it would have felt more like choreographed.
I don't think
that'd
it
be
would
really
felt
cool.
as-
Yeah,
It wouldn't have been as claustrophobic though.
Well, because it was such a it's almost like they put the camera at butt height at a Dutch angle, and then we cut from one side of the alley to the other. And I was like, I don't even know where the other dude is in all this. Is he dead? Like, what happened to him? Oh, there he is. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, when they got to that part in the IMAX theater, it took up the full frame. And I was like, how do you even fit an IMAX camera in that alleyway? Like,
they got a really
huge.
long lens.
So the truth is the alleyway is really narrow, but it's wide up to that point, so they can only bring it to this point.
I can't go past here, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So the other thing too, and this is I guess kind of spectacle all the way back.
Yeah.
But I really like the difference of fighting styles that Ilsa has compared to like basically her male counterparts, because essentially, she is a skinny female that is going to be underweighted against a lot of these guys, and she fights with essentially like judo and holds and stuff to try and subdue them.
She's going to crawl up you like a ladder, and she's going to get that leg
She's done that in a couple of movies now.
I know.
Yeah, I like it. It's good moves.
I like that they're consistent with it. Yeah, it looks like her style. So while we're on plot, there was a article I saw. So Tom Cruise was, I guess, with him and Christopher McQuarrie when they were like talking about this movie. He refused to end this movie on a cliffhanger,
a big cliffhanger.
He told the director it has got to be satisfying, which is interesting because I was going to say, Fast X had like a pretty big
cliffhanger right now. Yeah,
but this was supposed to come out like 3 years ago, so
true.
like they weren't thinking about the cliffhangers now, but like. I do appreciate that he was like, no, I don't want this to be like...
He wanted it to be a complete story that you could watch it without having to have to watch the next one.
Right. And I also think it's a good move they did that, because now that they're not filming back to back...
Yeah, you don't know how
we would have
the
gone
break
from
is.
57-year-old Tom Cruise to 60 how old Tom Cruise in like the next scene if you watch him back to back.
Yeah, so now they actually have some kind of...
There's room for a couple years to pass or something,
Yeah, or like... time of some sort.
Yeah, so that may change quite a bit of what they're planning on doing for the story.
Yeah.
Which I like the idea of like having this nuclear sub with I guess like the core part of the AI like sunk at the bottom of the Baltic Sea or whatever.
Or Bering Strait.
Bering Strait.
So I didn't
started with a B.
Same difference.
We'll bring this
Same
up as
place.
a plot piece because of what was actually like the pressure that was going on, right? Because I almost felt like it wasn't just that there was the core part of the AI; it was also kind of like guilt implicating the U.S. government in essentially basically starting World War III.
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
like, there's that
with Carrie
play as
Elwes'
well.
character like being on the train to try and like he's like
Durlington or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like I'm the only one that knows. And I'm like, cool. Now you're dead.
I really like that twist.
Dinlinger was his name.
Dinlinger, that was
Even worse.
Whatever his name was, it's terrible.
I had to look it up.
But I really
Sorry,
like that
Carrie
bit
Elwes' name.
where Gabriel is just kind of like, so you're saying you're the only one. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. When that dude says to you, so you're the only one, you run immediately.
He's got a knife.
Oh, man.
He's got a gun.
And when he turned to Paris and it's like, you're going to tell him because he spared you. And you're like, wait, what? And then it pans out. You're like, oh, he stabbed her in the heart. That's so rude.
Yeah.
Or like up into the rib
Right.
cage.
Yeah. It's like, that's so rude.
What a twist.
That was a good twist.
So
I like that.
I do think that like, and
And then her coming back to
I wish
save
that they
them,
would have shown her
Making her way
making
a
her
little
way
bit.
up to the front.
or
making
like,
her way
or
downtown,
like she
walking
like
so fast.
made it to the bar and was like putting alcohol on, like a very John Wick thing.
Yeah.
Putting alcohol on the wound.
And she's just
Then she takes a shot of it.
And then, and she takes a slug and she's just like, and the whole train starts going like, okay, what the heck?
Yeah.
This is worse.
Yeah, because that would have been better than her just showing up.
Yeah.
But
And they may have shot that again.
Yeah.
We're at a long movie
It
at
was a
this
long
point.
movie, yeah.
They could have like cut that for time.
But I also do really like one that her character is presumably preserved because they say, oh, she's got a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But also the collection service duo. Really, like from the
were good.
from the start of the film,
Yeah.
they were kind of an antagonist force.
Yeah.
And then midway through, we have a very Fast X moment where we have the fight on the bridge in Fast X.
Yeah.
And we have the same thing here where they're like confronting each other, and then Paris is just like, I have a gun.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot things. And then we have the flip where it's like, okay, well, now we're on the same side.
Yep.
And then we have, and I don't remember their names, but we have the younger guy, the young buck.
Briggs and
I get it right here. Dagus.
Dagus is the young guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so Briggs is, so we have Dagus where he's kind of like, are we the baddies? You know, like, he's like, hey, I'm in this, to do good things. Like, and where
Yeah.
Briggs is kind of more
Yeah.
like the,
he's just the hard.
disenfranchised. Yeah.
But
Like
you have that moment where he's like, no one should have that power. Huh. Hold on.
Wait a minute, hold on, back up.
Wait, hold on.
Problems.
I'm worried about this. Now that I'm thinking it through. Yeah.
Well, but then also the exchange with Kittredge on the train where he's like, well, I'm not officially here. And like, well, like everyone to the back,
What's
back.
going
Everyone to the
on?
back. What's going on? Well, sir, you're not officially here. This doesn't concern you.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
Whoa!
I really did like the plot justification for Ethan doing the base jump.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a
where
good
he
reasoning.
speeds up the train, so he misses the train.
Yeah.
And then like the whole go up there where Benji's like, nope, just keep going. He's
Yeah.
like, are you sure?
Are you-
When am I gonna go down?
I'm going up the mountain. Where's the down?
You'll go down pretty soon.
Yeah. And then he's like, I got to get away from this mountain. He's looking around. He sees that peak.
Yeah.
And he's just like, ah.
Well, I also do like that side of Ethan Hunt as a character where he's not just like, heck yeah, punch it. He's like,
Yeah.
Well,
this
he's
doesn't
like,
feel good.
I gotta make
Yeah.
it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Johnny on the spot rescue was maybe at that point, just because we've already raised a lot of objections to how hard
Oh,
this is.
yeah, that does bother
is
me.
Yeah.
Maybe a little much, but at the same time, felt really good.
It did.
When he comes through that window and just slams into the wall.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It not only felt good, but it added a little bit of comedy
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that scene. So, like, I'll forgive it, but it was kind of like convenient.
It was a little
too
much.
convenient.
Well, and
Yeah.
also, I hit a point somewhere through this film where it's just like, is Ethan Hunt just like a really big white knight? Like,
kind of, I guess.
and also, there, not to continue this theory, but there was also a bit there where it was like, he's like made peace with Ilsa. He's working on Grace. The White Widow is kind of in his corner, and now Paris is coming around. I was like, am I watching a harem anime? What is going on right now?
I mean, he did
'Cause
have
I'm
the
here
anime
for it.
hair from Mission Impossible too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's
So-
right.
Speaking of like the convenient save there on the train where he comes
Through the window, yeah.
the better one was the motorcycle when Haley Atwell is like pinned down.
No,
that
I
was
don't care.
fantastic.
I love that.
I loved that part.
We're,
Yeah.
we're in the car and the motorcycle just goes by and takes two.
You just see these two guys like, go! And you're like, oh no, he's coming in hot.
He's here.
Yeah, then he shows up on the other side. He's like, roll
Yeah.
the window down. That
Well,
was
he
great.
like puts the dude's head through the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, before we move from plot to entertainment, because we're getting close
getting
to
close
it.
to
here.
it, yeah.
We see how it ends. Where do
are we
we think
going
it
from here?
goes in the next one?
I mean,
Okay, so what hold on, I got a stat of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I see here is Tom Cruise is like, I set that record for underwater holding my breath, and
Oh, boy.
then James Cameron showed up like a jerk. Boys, put me in the Bering Strait.
yeah, and he's gonna do the longest free dive.
Under the ice pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something.
Well, yeah, so I mean, we'll talk about stunts here in just a second for
Sure.
for entertainment.
Entertainment, yeah.
But for the story, if Paris is alive, we already got the information that
We got
he
the
needs.
necessary. We have the name, and then it's a sub.
And technically, the key is in the hands of
The correct
good
people.
guys
Yeah.
right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
But clearly the AI is still going to do whatever it's going to do, so that like
Right.
the time, the clock is
and
ticking.
Gabriel is still in play.
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
not, thrown off a train or, there was no sudden abrupt, he's definitely dead, guys.
Yeah.
moment.
Right. Yeah.
Which also I really liked where he checked the watch because I thought, oh, he's disabled this train's ability to stop, and we're going to come to a point where it's going to encounter oncoming traffic that it was supposed to pull over for.
Yeah.
And it was actually just timing this perfect landing into the bed of a truck. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah.
That is, one, not what I thought was coming up, and two, holy cow, that requires good timing and faith.
Oh, yeah.
Like what
The AI
faith-
knows all.
Like,
You know,
what
before
faith
he-
in the AI to be like, it's all calculated, just lean down.
And the AI was like, can't stress this enough. The second it hits 0, you got to be going back.
So how many significant digits does that watch go down to?
Yeah. And I was like, I can't be clearer about this. You cannot hesitate a millisecond
The
on this.
physics involved, and we have a train going however 60 miles an hour or whatever, because I mean, it's a steam engine, it only goes so fast.
Yeah.
But it's going fast, and you have to fall off of it basically before you see the road where the truck is to actually land in the bed. And in the bed, so we developed this memory foam, some whatever in there.
So I think, to me, like where things go, right? You got Ethan and Benji are together.
Yeah.
Luther's off trying to figure some stuff out.
Cracking the code. He's going to show up, in the last
presumably
last third film. Yeah.
Or maybe they started off with him like, I've got something, but we've got to go.
And then it's a question we have to get into.
Manually be there.
Yeah. But either way, Luther's coming back at some point, either to save the day or to kick things off. You got Ethan and Benji, presumably, again, disavowed on the run, right?
Oh, we're gonna get it when we get to entertainment. We're gonna get into that one.
Yeah. The idea with Grace is like, so are we gonna have a situation where Kittredge brings her into the fold and then twists her a little bit to where
she's kind of like an actual bad guy?
That's what I'm wondering too. Is
not.
Kittredge gonna play like a Hunley, where he was not a believer and now he's like all on board in the IMF faith?
Right.
Or is it the reverse where he is the actual
He's just
heel?
Kittredge.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just like, hey, I could become the director.
Well,
of
that's the thing. Yeah,
Right.
like he could be the actual final boss of the film or franchise or whatever, because we've had him at the beginning and he's essentially still been pulling the strings all this time.
And we've established the initial seed of this AI is a U.S. government project.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we've established, hey, this is we're the baddies. We're going to cover, like he's going to cover this up, whatever it takes, lay the bodies down,
So I'm excited to see where they go.
I am too.
I am very interested.
Is this going to be the
works.
last one, we think?
No.
You think there's
probably not.
Okay.
So
I feel like Tom Cruise is like...
he was on to go to 9.
Tom Cruise said that he is down for as long as they're making money. And he has ideas for it. And I know that like he's definitely one of those where like if he for the biggest time he was no sequels. And then he, obviously he clearly has gotten past that.
He said, my paycheck is what?
Yeah.
I'll do a sequel.
But
I get a percentage?
I'll do 9 of them.
I think that he has enough control over his own product that he'll hopefully know when to stop.
Well, ultimately, I think if he reaches the point where he's like, hey, I don't feel like I can do the stunts to justify this.
That's the other thing, too.
I don't think we're coming up with a good enough story, then... Which, again, is part of why you're like, hey, I want part 1 to be a satisfying conclusion. I want part 2 to be a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah.
And then if there's another, there's another. If there isn't, hey, we ride out into the sunset.
Right. Yeah. I would love it if they would wrap up part 2 in such a way that it could be the end of the series if they want it to be.
If they wanted it to be, yeah.
As of when he starts filming this one, he'll be 61. So he'll probably be like 63 by the time it releases.
Assuming
64.
that all the strikes and stuff stops.
Right. That's another thing. So like if he gets to be 62 or 3 before he starts filming, like just age catches up to you no matter what you do, so like there's only so many years where he can be doing stunts like this.
Yeah. And we've also, I'm not going to say that it's a good idea because we've seen a lot of franchises try this and it hasn't worked. But we have laid some seeds for a quote unquote future generation.
Yeah.
We've got Grace, right, going into
Which
training.
I think she's a very good one to carry the torch
Not
for
bad,
character-wise.
If nothing else, unlike our Dial of Disappointment, they didn't poison the well with the character from the go. And kind of the same issue with Crystal Skull, where they kind of poisoned the mutt well as well.
Yeah, the mutt well.
But they didn't do that with. I don't feel like they did that with audiences here.
No, not at all.
And then we also have the 2 collector characters who I feel like if they carry through, like if we end up forming a new team, that's the 2 of them.
They could be
Grace and somebody else, Benji or something like that. Somebody else carries through. I don't know.
Probably Benji.
We could go for at this point. I feel like Ving Rhames has got to be like, it's a paycheck, but like I don't want to sit there and have to explain everything to everybody.
Again,
please stop making me the exposition character.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, I could very well see where we finish Dead Reckoning Part 2 and we have kind of a passing of the torch, and they see where they go from that, and then maybe Cruise is not. Maybe he is like the mentor. Maybe he's the new director. He's not having to do the stunts.
Yeah.
And he's more in a production side of things where he can sit back, call the shots, and then make his appearances, say his lines, whatever. And it's the young bucks carrying the mantle, right?
Not sure how I would feel about that, but
See, I don't know how
he'd feel about that either.
Yeah. Well, it would also
he
lead
wants
you
control.
It would also lead you to a great moment or two where he could be like, "Let me show y'all how it's done."
Yeah.
And then he steps into the field. There are possibilities there that I think could work. I don't know if that's something they would do, and this is beyond just part 2. This is
this is just pure speculation.
And I was gonna say, just to wrap this thought up and then move on to entertainment, is like I think the other problem is like, yes, you've set up the groundwork for like a new generation, but are any of these people as crazy as Tom Cruise to do their own stunts?
Do they want? Well, I mean, we saw it with Haley.
Yeah,
but like she's dipped her foot into the
She's not hanging off the side of planes.
Tom Cruise was next to her the whole time. Like, I guarantee he was there the whole time, basically. So. But also, you don't know, like, for Cruise, he put so much of himself into these projects. You don't know that these people, for all we know, Haley Atwell said, "That was a nice paycheck." And that was the extent of her, she pulling the Harrison Ford.
I'm going to hang off the Burj Khalifa, guys.
Yeah, So.
Okay, so moving into entertainment.
Andrew, were you entertained?
Absolutely.
Steven, were you entertained?
For the most part.
Wow. I was very entertained. All right.
Well, so let's get some positives.
Speak on that.
Get some positives in here.
So again, not to repeat myself too much, I love the action. I love the characters. I love the performances, and I love especially a lot of the one-on-one dynamics we get with Ethan. I like Isai Morales as a bad guy.
Oh yeah.
I like, even though the plot to me struggles around
it's a little convoluted.
I can forgive that more than I can forgive fridging Ilsa's character.
Yeah.
That to me was the low point, but it still works. Like it on a functional level, there were no like massive plot holes. The only one I had was why did Grace still go across the bridge?
He has a knife. Time to leave.
Like that's it. Just jump in the water and swim. I don't know.
Hold on.
Okay.
Did he have? Okay, I'm going to back this way up.
I'm holding.
Did he have a knife at the start of that encounter, or was it purely
It was the one she brought to it's the one she brought.
Yeah,
she brought the knife.
So there could be an argument there of
she thought that she would have.
She thought she had the upper hand. Yeah,
could be. Yeah, maybe she's like.
But I still don't know.
I'm not a fighter, but I know how to handle a knife.
Yeah, I'd just be like, this dude's a zealot, and
actually, this will. I know I praised the choreography earlier, but this also bothered me where she pulls out the second switchblade and she pauses and then does it. And I'm like,
don't do that.
That's a movie thing, though.
Yeah, it's such a movie thing.
You know what you do? You do that just like Gabriel did to Paris, where he never sees the stupid thing.
Yeah.
Don't you're a sleight of hand master. All you have to do is just like point your finger and there's a knife in his throat. How? Yeah. He doesn't know. It just got there. You
don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was one of the things. So
small problem.
Yeah. Entertainment for me, I think that the oh my gosh.
The what?
I had it.
Okay. The entity.
No, the
overarching plot.
No. I'm making a
the steeple.
I'm making a steeple.
You're doing like a huddle up somewhere right now. I don't know where we're going here.
Tom Cruise and Haley Atwell's
chemistry.
There we go. It starts with a C.
A class you take in high school. What is?
No, I thought their on-screen chemistry, particularly in the car chase, was just phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Well, their initial introduction to each other and kind of the interplay
was really good because you get a little bit of sexual tension.
Well, he steals the key. She gets the lighter, and the lighter keeps showing up. That was well laid out.
Yeah. And they did a really good job of building that really quick and early relationship with them to where they do have a little bit of a good dynamic, something that you would normally expect out of characters that have been in films together like as characters for a while. Yeah. And I thought they did a really good job of basically jump starting that into something really interesting and pretty emotional like towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you actually, again, compared to like him and Ilsa's character development from the previous two movies, I feel like you have more there with him and Grace already.
Yeah.
That makes it unfortunate when Ilsa dies because it's all the more cheapened by the fact of like, man, if y'all could have just done this in like Rogue Nation, then we'd go into Fallout with a lot more when she shows up, So I think, and again, maybe one version of Rogue Nation back in the day had more of that, but because they were laying the track down in front of the train, it was just too much. Yeah. So now that we've got some positive out of the way, Steven, what was it that you didn't find entertaining?
So overall, the film was entertaining. Yeah. Right? Am I going to rewatch it? Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Probably when they announced part 2, then I'll be like, all right, we're going to put part 1 back on. We're going to watch this again. So my biggest complaint, entertainment-wise, was it felt very tropey, right? We kick it off with, oh no, he's disavowed again. How many times can we start a movie with him being
Specifically
disavowed?
7 times.
Like, apparently at this point, the IMF is not the IMF. It's Ethan Hunt and pals, and then a director who disavows them at the drop of a hat.
Well, and that's the thing that like they've never really given a very clear, concise answer
how
on
large it is.
How big is the
organization
IMF?
is it? Yeah.
And that's intentional, I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure the largest it was Mission Impossible 3.
It was, yeah, it felt like a
Yeah,
big,
it felt like they had
meetings.
recruits.
Are you throwing a title at me, son? Or whatever the
Yeah.
line was. Oh, that's such a good line.
That was a
I do love the whenever they're explaining the IMF to
Carrie Ellis' character.
Well,
character.
but they-
It's like
Durnlinger.
call a guy.
Yeah.
He'll just choose to accept if he wants it.
They're like more or less.
Yeah, pretty much.
One, that was hilarious.
That was
Two,
great.
that's the second or third time they've made fun of the fact that it's called Impossible Mission
Yeah.
Force, which doesn't really get old to me. It's still funny, and I like how while that was happening, like it's really good filmmaking, right? Where they show us the case as it's going through security and everything, and you don't really know who that person is bringing in. So you're like, this is the bad guy.
Yep.
And then like Kittredge is clearly betraying them here because he gave him the mask, and then it's Cruz.
Yeah.
Or Hunt. And it's like, oh, okay, like that's really
That was a
good.
that was a good
filmmaking.
turn.
I
Yeah.
thought that was Isai Morales' character 100%.
Yeah, I was
I did
totally
too.
prepared for that to be an agent of chaos.
I loved
right?
his little gas mask that he had.
Also,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a very
That was really-
it's like it does exactly what it needs. It goes in your mouth, it blocks your
Plugs
nose,
your
up,
nose.
And that's it.
the gas disperses in just 30 seconds, and then you don't need it.
And it goes in your ears.
But so my
But
big,
no, I can agree. It was a little tropey.
like I'm getting tired. Like I know if we go back to Mission Rewatchable, I've complained about it there.
Well, I was going to say, I think throughout the series, we've seen some tropey stuff in several of the movies.
And sometimes
So-
that works, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just what like the joking about how it works and what it's called with someone who has to be explained to it new. That's a trope, and it's still funny.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just the whole like he's been just like at one point I want to see him actually have some resources.
I mean, he had pretty decent
I wanna see a
resources
director-
this time.
Well, but see, the thing is, for being disavowed, he whips out his phones like, "There's a safe car, there's a safe house. I can go here. We're
yeah.
flying here. We're making masks." Like, are you actually disavowed, or like do you
They're
just
so used to being off the grid. They've got so many safe houses.
They do
established.
that. They do that in which film is it where he has the houseboat?
Oh, yeah.
And like it's like so is this a safe house? Like, well, this is kind of like my own personal stash. I've got about 40 of these around the world because you just never know. Tomorrow I could be disavowed. I need masks, you know.
I would love it if like the director comes out and he's like, he's avowed. I stand by my man. You know?
Also, I was a little disappointed we didn't carry through, and I'm going to blank on her name, the CIA director from Fallout.
Angela
Angela
Bassett.
There's a
Her
photo,
picture's on
there's
the
a photo
wall.
of her on
Yeah.
the wall, and that's it. I was a little disappointed. I would have liked to have seen Angela Bassett here.
yeah.
Yeah. Probably there's not enough room for her in the plot
Well, at
when you
some
have
point,
Kittredge
yeah, you
in
just
there.
have, and you got Denlinger.
Yeah, Durnlinger.
Durnlinger, whatever his name is.
Durnlinger.
Harry Ellis. It's so bad.
So bad.
So,
Sorry, I was gonna.
no, I was going to ask a question that's
go
going to
for it.
lead to discussion.
Go for it.
Okay. So now that we have seen 7 Mission Impossible films,
Yeah.
what do you think is the best stunt?
The best singular
the,
stunt.
The most exciting.
The most exciting.
Or like,
Man.
and you have to take into account
Yeah.
plot relevance.
Yeah, like how important is this to the
Yeah,
plot
yeah.
kind of thing?
I know what mine is.
You're gonna say the Burj Khalifa.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's
I'm
the,
wise to your
the
ways.
helicopter in Fallout, where he
Fallout?
does the actual
Yeah.
the spin down.
spin down. What's it called? There's a name for it when you like
corkscrew?
You do something,
Something,
but
yeah.
it
Yeah.
stalls the engine intentionally, and Tom Cruise really did that.
Yeah.
That for me is the one where it's
it's
don't say if you don't know what it is.
no, it's like it's basically
Don't leave us
where-
hanging.
where
Yeah.
you utilize the fact that the blades are a wing,
Right,
So without
yeah.
power, it can still
Yeah.
bring you
It
down.
can
It's like it's a
still-
controlled
yeah.
fall, but I can't. There's a
Yeah.
term.
There's
for
a
it.
name for it.
Yeah.
But that to me is the one where I was like, that's the closest he's probably come to death. Like this guy did this.
Yeah.
Nuts. Yeah. What about you?
Burj Khalifa.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
I think just in the window of the film.
Yeah.
the lens of the
because
film or whatever.
It's like a double heist happening on multiple levels with crews strapped to
And
the outside
stuff
of
is
a
you got
building.
the
going
gloves
wrong.
not working.
Yeah.
The
Like-
time you got to hurry up. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
And the visuals of it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah,
What
so
about you, Sam?
I struggle with this because I do feel like the Burj Khalifa is the best plot relevant stunt. But strapping yourself to the side of the plane is definitely the biggest stunt.
5,000 feet in the air,
Yeah, like that is, you're going so fast that any object that strikes you could kill you.
It's just a bullet.
Yeah. So, like, to me, that is certainly the riskiest stunt I feel like they've done.
So, apparently this base jump was the riskiest one that he's done.
There's a ton of risk in because, like, if he ramps that motorcycle off and goes open the parachute and there's a gust that pushes him back, he just dies.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things, like, again,
like, he gets caught up with the motorcycle.
His pant leg snags something on the motor, you just die. So, like, I think in that respect of, hey, like, there's a lot less control over the stunt. It is like I actually really wanted to see him break out a wingsuit, squirrel suit.
I was really hoping for that.
I thought that's what he was gonna have as like not the speed wing, but I thought that's what they had given him, and I thought that was the solution where he's like, I can't calculate this trajectory, and then he ramps it, does the squirrel suit to make the dive, and then pops the parachute as a last second break
to slow down,
and then it's the reality of he's killed all his escape measures. How do you get out of here?
Right.
I thought that's where we were gonna go. And
I thought it was
not how it worked. I don't know. Maybe he's
probably doing the wingsuit and doing the parachute at the same time was probably a little bit too risky.
But they don't show him open the parachute.
Yeah,
like you see him go off and then he comes through the window basically. So like they kind of cut that part out. I mean, he obviously parachuted to get from that situation.
Yeah. Could have been two takes or something.
Well, it also may be as simple as like. Has Cruise spent a lot of time doing things? Sure. Has he spent enough time skydiving to be wingsuit, like to do that?
Probably not.
Maybe not. I don't know. You know, like he's done everything else, but like, well, you put all this time in these other stunt driving and Halo jumps and everything else. So my last complaint, was kind of the anime harem thing. Yeah. Where it's almost like, I know this is kind of the American Bond, but it's almost a little too much of a Bond thing now, where it's just like every woman around him falls for him.
But it's not just women. It's Alec Baldwin.
Everyone falls for him.
Basically, you come around to realize that he is a good guy, I think is the trope.
He is a good guy. And like we see that with like Paris's turn feels more earned than like the White Widow's turn. Whereas the White Widow is more of...
No, they just had big sexual tension for whatever
two
reason.
films. Yeah. I'm just paid to be here. Yeah. And also... You're hot, I'm hot.
And also,
But yeah, I mean, that's like, for the most part, was it entertaining? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll watch again.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of your complaints register on my radar.
That's fine.
I'll just end it with that.
That's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. Overruled.
Ryan's like, I don't care about your objections.
I know. Give me a Tom Cruise harem movie with plot holes. I'll take it. All right. I think we've talked enough about this movie. Let's talk about our Patreon.
Yeah.
Because it's a really good deal.
Sure, just $1 a month.
Yeah.
You get access to all of our bonus content, bonus episodes, commentaries, Patreon picks, polls, all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah. And we have, to kind of link into our AI theme here, we have what I think is a very good episode.
Ridiculous is a better word.
That's a better word.
ChatGPT took control and dictated to us what the movie titles were going to be, and we tried to make it work.
Yes, we had to fill in the blanks.
Varying levels of success.
And you can hear the preview of that right now.
Yes,
the first 15 minutes of it. Check that out. If you like it, throw down that $1. Listen to the rest of it. It's worth it.
It's totally worth it. And you get access to all the previous episodes.
Yeah. And, if $1 is too much or you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. You can also support the show by giving us reviews.
Yeah.
And like rating us on Spotify,
like us on
iTunes.
Your favorite podcast. You don't necessarily, if you don't have time to write something, cool. Just push 5 stars, hit submit, done.
Honestly, the best thing, though, is just sharing us around.
Yeah.
Send us to your friends, your cats, dogs, horses, I don't know.
Your mom, your grandparents, wherever.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Anyone
Mom.
you can share. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. All right, that sounds like about all the time we have. Until next time, I'm Ryan.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Steven.
And every spoiler was intended.